There are 5 voting members for the Zoning Board of Appeals. Therefore, in order for your application to be granted, you will need a supermajority. You need at least 4 in favor of your application for it to be granted. If it's a simple majority, 3-2, your application will be denied. We'll be doing that right afterwards, and we welcome the public to stay on and listen, whether it's on the video or in the call-in, and you can listen to discussion, you can listen to how we vote. If an application is granted, it's not going to be valid until it is recorded on the land records. Therefore, you must send a check to the town in the amount of $60 made out to the town of Fairfield and send it to the zoning office, which will allow for proper recording of the notice. Any waiver involving construction, whether it's for a new dwelling addition or an alteration, will require an as-built prior to the issuance of a certificate of zoning compliance and a certificate of occupancy. Lastly, sorry I didn't mention this earlier, if you cannot stay after the public hearing or after your matter goes forward, that's fine. I will not take offense. No one will take offense dropping off. And if you need to find out, just call the zoning office tomorrow or later to find out what happened on your particular matter. We'll start off with the first matter, and let's see if we can get this one. We've tried 3 times, Mr. Decker.
Yeah, we're going to have to try one more time, Mr. Chairman.
Can I ask you a question?
Who's talking?
I'm sorry, my name's Steve O'Connell. I don't know how to get the video. Are you, is this like a Zoom call?
That is correct.
Yes. Are you an applicant or an agent for something, Steve?
No, I'm a resident.
You'll be on
Strictly on the call.
And when a matter comes up, which matter are you interested in, Mr. O'Connell?
17A and B.
Okay, you're going to be waiting for a while. That's last. So when the opportunity comes up, I will, after the applicant speaks, I believe that's either Attorney Russo or Attorney Rizzio who's presenting that from my review of the application. I will ask if there's people in favor or opposition, as I just stated, and then it will be opened up and you'll have an opportunity to speak, and I'll take them in proper order. In favor first, in opposition second, okay?
Yeah, so I don't have access to video. It's just the applicants and you.
But we will listen to you, and we'll give you an opportunity to speak. That's not a problem, so you just hang tight, and we'll get to you when we get to that particular matter.
Okay, thank you.
All right, sure. All right, continued docket number 7, 160 Pine Creek Avenue, map 238, parcel 36, petition of David Tortorello for a variance of the zoning regulations section 11.11.2 to reduce the sideline setback from 5 feet, currently 5.4 feet, proposing 1.2 feet. Permission to construct a platform for a standalone generator premises BD zone. Is there anyone on the call for 160 Pine Creek Avenue? I think it's someone from Northeast.
There is not. So I'm going to give the, pursuant to the governor's order of the extension, I'm going to give him, he's got another 2 months left before I have to withdraw him or actually ask you and the commission to vote to deny. But if we can give him another month so I can, if I have to go knock on his door, I will in the next coming weeks and see if I can't get it resolved.
So since we haven't heard, I'm going to consider this one continued, so I don't have to keep on recalling it. So this one is continued. And Mr. Decker, please let them know if we don't hear from them, either withdraw or go forward, we'll be voting on it, and that is not in their best interest to vote on it without someone applying, because I think it would probably be denied.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. The other matter on the continued docket is number 11, and that is 30 Daybreak Road, and that is continued to April 1, April Fool's meeting, 2021. General docket number 1, 290 Francis Hill Road, map 40, parcel 2328. Fitzpatrick?
I am here, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Great. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, for the record, my name is Bill Fitzpatrick. I'm an attorney in Fairfield with the law firm of Fitzpatrick, Frey, and Bologna. Mr. Chairman, before I start, I'd just like to alert the board I'm presenting several applications this afternoon. It's inevitable that there will be some repetition, if only in setting forth the test for the granting of variance in these applications. I can't avoid this because each application is a separate entity, needs its own separate record. I just wanted to make the board aware of that. Back to the presentation. I'm here this afternoon representing 290 Tungus Hill Road LLC, the principal of which is Mike Berkowitz, the owner of the commercial building which formerly housed the Kohl's retail store. Property is bordered on the north by Greenfield Street, east by Villa Avenue, on the south by Tungus Hill Road. Parcel contains 6.85 acres. It's located in the designed commercial district. The present retail building on the premises contains approximately 100,000 square feet. This application pertains to the proposed signage for the retail tenant to be located on the Greenfield Street side of the building, specifically Florin Decor. Florin Decor will occupy approximately 80% of the building, and Aldi, the grocery store, will occupy the remainder. The board will recall that the applicant filed a signage variance request for Florin Decor, which was heard at the December ZBA meeting. That application was denied by the board. I'd like to point out the substantial differences between that application and this application. That application requested an increase in the permitted square footage for a wall sign from 72 square feet to 258.22 square feet. That figure has been reduced to 120.59 square feet. That application requested an increase in the permitted figure height from 36 inches to 48 inches. That was actually a misreading of the plan on my part. The reality is that the figure height on the December plan was 101 inches. The present requested figure height request is 61.5 inches. Lastly, the December application requested an increase in the number of wall signs on one wall from one sign to 4 signs. That request has been eliminated in its entirety. As a result, the application before the board today relates to only one sign and requests a variance of section 29.10.1 of the regs to permit an increase in the permitted square footage for a single wall sign from 72 square feet to 129.59 square feet, and to permit an increase in the permitted letter height from 36 inches to 61.5 inches. The test for the granting of a variance is set forth in the Archambault case, 25 Connecticut Appellate 375, 1991 case, which states regarding hardship under general statutes, section 8-6, parents 3 and parents, the local zoning board may grant a variance where 2 basic conditions are met. 1, the variance is shown not to affect substantially the comprehensive zoning plan, and 2, adherence to the strict letter of the zoning regulations is shown to cause unusual hardship unnecessary to the carrying out of the general purpose of the zoning plan, end quote. First prong of the test, no substantial effect on the comprehensive plan is satisfied here where the proposed use, signage associated with a retail tenant, is certainly a permitted use in the designed commercial district. The second part of the test, adherence to the strict letter of the regulations is shown to cause unusual hardship, is satisfied here, I would submit, by several factors. First, it's important to note the Florin Decor storefront is located over 450 feet from the Villa Avenue entrance to the shopping center. The first variance request relates to the size of the primary wall sign. The original variance request has been reduced relative to this primary wall sign by more than 50%. I think it's relevant for the board to consider that Florin Decor is new both to the town of Fairfield and to the state of Connecticut. And it's important for both the customer and the retailer that the customer is able to recognize the Florin Decor signage. The second revised variance request relates to the proposed increase in height of the Florin Decor ampersand only from the permitted 36 inches to 61.5 inches. Again, the height of this figure is an integral part of the Florin Decor name, and we would submit is not oversized in the context of the proposed signage, which is now a single sign. Please note that this request relates only to the ampersand. The letters are 29 inches high and comply with the 36-inch letter height requirement. I think the best way to analyze the size of this proposed sign is relative to the frontage of the wall facing Villa Avenue. The frontage of that wall is approximately 7,500 square feet. Please keep in mind that the regulation permits a 72 square foot sign on a store frontage of 360 square feet, or 20%. Here, the proposed 121 square foot sign is 1.61%, not 20%, but 1.61% of the street frontage facing the parking lot. Similarly, not by way of precedent, but by way of proportionality, if you will, the board at the December meeting approved an Aldi sign directly adjacent of 75 square feet. That 75 square feet is on a storefront of approximately 3,600 square feet. That Aldi sign is approximately 2% of the storefront facing Villa Avenue. To repeat, in conclusion, the regs permit a 20% signage on a small store frontage of 360 square feet. The approved Aldi signage is 2% of the store frontage, and the proposal here for Florin Decor is 1.61%, less than the permitted 20% on a small storefront, than the approved Aldi sign on a percentage basis. My point is that the proposed sign here is proportional in size and by any fair analysis is a minimal requested increase in square footage. Lastly, the prior variance request for an increase in the number of wall signs from 1 to 4 has been eliminated in its entirety. The applicant heard the discussion between the board members on that issue loud and clear. Also, my client is proposing and is willing to accept a condition of approval that the illumination of the sign be limited to when the store is open. I will not reiterate the specifics of the Florin Decor store. I will reiterate that in today's economic climate, between big box retailer difficulties and COVID-19 pandemic difficulties, the town of Fairfield is very fortunate to have the opportunity to replace a big box department store retailer with 2 smaller retail tenants with a proven record of success. For the reasons I've outlined, I'd request this revised application be approved. There is a signage expert and a Florin Decor representative on this Zoom call. They and I will be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
And I know the Capitol Police are taking the blunt of the blame for the catastrophic failure of security that occurred yesterday. I have got to believe this question is much more complicated. The Justice Department, Homeland Security, the Department of Defense, and Civil Service were all involved and should have been behind the scenes. And I think this is not a question just of blame.
Kevin, you're muted.
Mr. Chairman, I can't hear you.
I muted myself by mistake. I want Mr. Clevance and Cody to mute. Sorry, everyone. I was trying to get them themselves, and I kept myself in mute mode. Apologize for that. What I'd like to do now is have questions for Attorney Fitzpatrick. I think, Jane, you had a question. Thank you.
Hi, I just want to make sure I heard you correctly that the sign will only be illuminated during business hours?
That's correct.
Okay,
My client is proposing that condition of approval.
thank you. That's it.
Are there any other questions for Attorney Fitzpatrick? Yes, Sharon.
What were the business hours? I'm sorry, did I miss that?
The business hours at the moment are Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., Saturday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. I would not like the specific business hours quoted because they could possibly change later or earlier for that matter. But my point is that whenever the store is open, the sign will be on. When the store is not open, the signage will be off.
Yes, Jane, another question?
Well, that begs another question. In the future, if this business changes, does that mean the next business will also only be able to keep their lights on during their business hours?
My understanding is that a new user would require new signage. And so that this would be a brand new discussion before this board, if indeed they come to this board.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from anyone else on the board? Okay. Is there anyone on the call-in that wishes to speak to this either in favor or against the application? Hearing none, right?
Okay.
No one's come forward? Okay. Thank you, Attorney Fitzpatrick. Appreciate that. Appreciate you listening to us and coming back again with a proposed condition.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Next item, number 2, 72 Rose Hill Road, map 241, parcel 83. Petition of Bonnie Page for a variance of zoning regulations 5.2.5 to increase lot coverage from 15%, currently 17.9%, proposing 18.6%. Permission to construct a front and rear portico. Premises R3 zone. I think Ms. Page was presenting that, but I'm not sure.
This is Paulo Vicente. I'm represent.
Paulo, okay, Mr. Vincente, okay, go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Paulo Vicente. I'm an architect representing Bonnie Page on 72 Rose Hill Road. This is an existing house and garage on this non-conforming lot in Southport. We have a modest proposal to increase the coverage beyond allowable, only by about 80 square feet from what it is today. It's already existing non-conforming. The lot coverage is non-conforming today, and the lot is non-conforming in terms of its area. We have almost half the size of what's required in the allowable lot area. So the minimum lot requirement is 2,000 square feet. Our lot is 10,983, which we would say is our hardship on this. The proposal is to create 2 porticos, increase the size modestly of the front portico that covers the front entrance and the door facing Rose Hill. Excuse me, facing Rose Hill, and a secondary portico at rear garage to the rear of the lot that would again cover a door, a new doorway going into the garage.
Thank you, sir. Does the board have any questions for Mr. Vicente? Everyone's shaking their head no. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone on the call-in favor or in opposition to this application, 72 Rose Hill Road? Hearing no. All right. No one commenting. All right. Thank you, Mr. Vincente. We'll be taking that up later during our working session.
Thank you.
Our next item, next matter, number 3, and that is 399 Riverside Drive, map 130, parcel 39. Petition of Susan and Matthew Rush for a variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.2.5, to increase the lot coverage and total floor area from 20% and 40%, currently 30% and 42.3%, proposing 28.7% and 42.1%, permission to construct a new 2.5-story single-family dwelling, premises A zone. I believe Attorney Fallon is presenting this.
I am, Mr. Chairman. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Well, good afternoon to everyone and Happy New Year, by the way. I'm pleased to be here today representing the Rushes. They're on the line with us, as is Oscar Leal, who is our builder with regard to this proposal. By way of background, some board members may remember that in January of last year, January of 2020, we received approvals of variances from this board pertaining to the contemplated construction at that time of a two-story addition to the existing dwelling at 399 Riverside Drive. These variances included a variance of section 5.2.4 to reduce the street line and the side property line setbacks. In addition, you granted variances of section 5.2.5 to allow a coverage of 30.8% and a total floor area of 42.3%. As I'll discuss momentarily, the basis for that action by the board was quite properly taking into consideration the unique features of the property that we will discuss momentarily. After careful consideration with regard to practical, functional, and aesthetic issues, Mr. and Mrs. Rush have decided to seek approval to construct a new single-family home on the property. The new construction will be compliant with all setback requirements, so that the variances that you granted in January with regard to the setback variances are no longer required, will be totally compliant. In addition, the proposal for the new construction that is before you today actually will accommodate a reduced lot coverage, so that the variance requested for coverage in this application is 28.7%, whereas the variances of record from last January that you granted was for 30.8%. Similarly, with regard to the FAR, the previous floor area ratio variance that was granted was 42.3%. This will now be reduced to 42.3%. The lot is unchanged, and therefore the hardship is unchanged. The lot comprises a gross area of 15,219 square feet. However, pursuant to section 31.2.21 of the zoning regulations and its application, 6,139 square feet of lot area, which is situated below 4.8 feet, the elevation of 4.8 feet, has to be deducted in calculating lot area, which leaves us with 9,088 square feet. The property is located in the Residence A zone, wherein the minimum lot requirements are 9,375 square feet, so that this lot is rendered a non-conforming lot based upon the application of section 31.2.21. The new house, as proposed, is basically and completely designed to address the same needs that we sought to address through the addition. There is a significant need for living space for Mr. and Mrs. Rush. They have 4 children, ages 15 through 21. They would like to add additional bedrooms to accommodate the children. In addition, Mr. Rush has been diagnosed with MS, and that first floor master bedroom that's proposed is a very significant concern and consideration to the family. The argument statutorily here is the same as was the case in January. Under Connecticut General Statutes 8-6A3, you need to make 2 findings. One, that what is being proposed is not substantially in any way violative of the comprehensive zoning plan, and 2, that there are facts and circumstances with regard to the property that establish hardship under our case law. With regard to the first part of the test, the new dwelling is not going to change the use of the property, which will be a single-family residence, as is explicitly permitted in the zone. If the use to be allowed by a variance is such a permitted use in the zone, then obviously the Egan case, which I cite, speaks to the fact that the first part of the test is met. We're really not going to change the use of the property. A single-family home is permitted in the A zone. We would submit to you that the new construction is aesthetically more pleasing and will have a more positive impact on the neighborhood, as I'll elaborate on in a minute, than the previously approved addition. That's going to result in a home that is otherwise consistent with the regulations, except for the coverage variance and the FAR variance, which happens to be less than the recorded variances that were granted back in January. At the time you granted those coverage variances and the FAR variances, I pointed out, and I do so again in my material, that the request is also consistent with other previously approved variances in the neighborhood where, again, these lots were also non-conforming due to the application of the section of the zoning regulations with regard to elevations. For example, section 451 Riverside Drive, coverage variance of 29.3% and an FAR variance of 48.4% was granted. 581 Riverside, a coverage variance of 27% and an FAR variance of 45.5% were granted. At 461 Riverside, there was a coverage variance of 27%. And again, when you look at these files, all of them found and related to a finding of hardship based upon the application of section 31.2.21 of the regulations to the lot in question. As far as the hardship requirement, I lead into that because the hardship here is the same as it was in 2020. The Rush lots, based upon the application of section 31.2.21, is a valid and legally protected non-conforming lot as relates to lot area. The zone contemplates a lot area of 9,375 square feet, and a sizable portion of this lot, indeed the lot has a gross area of over 15,000 square feet, is lost for utilization and computation because of the application of this regulation, leaving us only with 9,088 square feet of area that can be contemplated. I would normally withhold any further comments pending comments from the neighborhood, but I think it's appropriate in the interest of the board's time and continuity. I know that you have received emails from our adjacent neighbor at 389, I believe it is, Riverside. I'd like to just address those remarks with regard to that. I can tell you that we did provide plans to our other abutting neighbors, the Tullocks at 402 Riverside and Mr. Ferreira at 417 Riverside. Mr. Ferreira is out of town, but I can represent, based upon the representations of my client, that Mr. Ferreira is aware of the plans and has no objection. With regard to our neighbor at 389 Riverside, I'd want to just address respectfully a few comments. We would hope and expect to be good neighbors with them, as we have tried to be, but we're frankly somewhat perplexed for the reasons I'll get into with regard to their opposition to this application, having not opposed the previous application last January, which we also advised them of. Mr. I think it pronounces Carmiello indicates that we want to build a much larger house. That's a quote from his email. Well, that's not true. The house to be built is actually smaller in square footage than the house that was approved by way of the addition for construction in January. It is indeed marginally smaller. We are reducing coverage from what was previously approved, as I previously indicated. We are reducing FAR, as I previously indicated, and we are eliminating totally the need for any setback variances with regard to the property, including the setback on his side of the property. That leads to a second input from them. That is that the placement of the house, and I quote, is so close to our property line. I would have the following comments respectfully to them and to the board. First of all, we are conforming to the zoning regulations. We seek no variance for setbacks. We have maintained a proper setback from our neighbor on that side and generally. Indeed, in this particular case, when you look carefully at it, you'll see that we've increased the setback, I think from its 6.5 feet, which is what was accommodated under the addition you approved, to over 7 feet. So I don't see how we can claim that the house is too close when, one, it conforms to the zoning regulations, and number two, we've actually moved the structure further away from our neighbor's property line than was the case last January. There's some reference in one of the letters to the basement. I won't dwell on that. I don't think that that's particularly relevant to what we're talking about here. I can tell you that the existing house has a basement. The house you approved with an addition in January has a basement, and that will be the case here. There's also a comment with regard to adequacy for parking. I point out to you that one, we comply with the zoning regulation requirements with regard to on-site parking. And secondly, as you can see, we have a good size driveway, and it certainly will be more than enough to accommodate any on-site parking needs for the Rushes and their family. There's a reference to construction activity. And all I can tell you there is we will comply with all town and building code requirements. We will be respectful of our neighbors and their interests, and we will see that there's no disruption to their enjoyment and daily life of their property. So by way of kind of summarizing that, what we are proposing from the standpoint of our neighbors is new construction that we believe strongly will aesthetically and generally benefit the neighborhood more than the addition that was approved last January. The house that we are proposing as part of this application will have less square footage than the house and addition that were approved in January. We have reduced coverage, we've reduced FAR, and we have eliminated the needs with regard to any setback variances whatsoever. Just so I can be very specific, since I said it, the original house that was approved, the new house in addition in January, had a total square footage of 3,847 square feet. The house we seek approval of today will have square footage of 3,826, so it's comparable, somewhat less. Perhaps more importantly, the setbacks, where you approved the variance in January for some of the setbacks to 16.5 feet, this will be compliant at 26 feet. And whereas the structure as approved in January was 6.5 feet from our neighbor's property line, this structure will be 7.7 feet. So it not only complies, but we've moved it farther away. So it's hard for me to understand, with all of that as background, how the complaint here can be that the house is too large and or it's too close to our neighbor's property line, especially in the context of the last application that was approved in January. The only other comment I'd make is somebody, Ray, you're not muted, Ray. Somebody.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Somebody, the gentleman also made a comment about why can't we, quote, center the house? Just to address that, there's a number of factors here. If you look at the shape of the lot, number one, it's somewhat constrained in that it narrows as you move to the back. The second thing you should understand, and perhaps our neighbor doesn't, is we have constraints with regard to the location of the floodplain to the rear. Thirdly, if we were to relocate the house, the driveway would have to be moved. It not only would have to be moved closer to our adjacent neighbor on the other side, but it would also have to put it more of a turn so that at the turn of where the property is, so that the sight line would not be as desirable as what we oppose now. And lastly, we have an approved drainage system here from the town with Coltex and the like. We can't put that, in this case, in the rear because the town doesn't want it there because of its proximity to the marsh. So I don't want anyone to think that we've overlooked or not considered everything in that regard when we cited the house. So again, the comments here are made not to be contentious with our neighbor, but we want to be respectful, but we also want to be accurate. And we find it hard to understand how they can oppose this application, having not opposed the last application, when this application seeks new construction, which is generally always desirable for a neighborhood, on a smaller footprint with less coverage, less FAR, and no request for setback variances, which are currently of record as approved. So in summary, I thank you for your attention. The new dwelling as proposed, we believe, is attractive. It'll have a good impact on the neighborhood. It will allow Mr. and Mrs. Rush to accommodate. Ray, you're still not on move. To accommodate.
Oh, that'll be good for a long time.
Or somebody isn't. All right.
Ryan Avalon, can you mute your phone?
Yes.
I was just about finished anyway. The bottom line here is the last application was a good application. You looked at the statutory criteria and found that the lot did, and the circumstances did create a finding of hardship. You approved coverage, FAR, and setback variances. We're here now with the same lot, but with a proposal that eliminates all setback variances, reduces the coverage and FAR variance, and will allow us to address the needs of Mr. and Mrs. Rush and their family. All of which, in the context of this application and the application of section 31.221, I think, as you found in January, satisfies the hardship requirement. It's a good application for the Rushes. I think it's a good application for the neighborhood, and it certainly is less intensive than what we got approved before. And we will continue to try to work with all of our neighbors, and but we do hope you'll approve this application consistent with your decision in January and the findings you made at that time. And I appreciate very much the board's attention with regard to the matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Fallon. Does the board have any questions for Attorney Fallon? Or I know the Rushes are on as well. Any questions? Don't see any questions. Okay. Now open it up to call in or people on the line. Is there anyone that has any comment either in favor or against this application? It's 399 Riverside Drive.
Yes, if you can hear me. I'm Ralph Charmello, 389 Riverside.
Yes, make sure you please speak up because it's calling, so we want to make sure everyone hears it. So please talk a little louder than you think you need.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm Ralph Charmello, living at 389. Can you hear me now?
Yes, just make sure you keep your voice up.
Okay, I'm right next to my phone, so I'm not sure what to do, but okay, I'm not a lawyer, so some of the comments that Attorney Fallon made, I really can't comment on the specifics of the various statutes and things like that. My points in my email to the board were mainly for the impact of this building this new house, what it has on our house, our property. One thing I think Attorney Fallon mentioned that I referred to a much larger house. I think the context of that in my emails was, hold on a second, I can't speak any closer, hold on. The context of that I was making in the emails, and I'm not sure if it was clear, is that I was talking about the existing house that sits here right now that we're looking at, as a matter of fact. And that house, now I know there was a thing in January, but that house has a small addition that was built on the side, and it's about an 8 by 10 or 8 by 12, one story, and it's about 7 feet, 8 feet from our property line. The new house, when it's torn down and rebuilt, instead of having just one small addition, because the rest of the house is about 15 or 16 feet away from our property line, as is. Now, I know this is exactly the way it was when you reviewed it last January. And it's my fault probably for not understanding more about how exactly that would work. But the new house, when it's built, will have the main house 33 feet, a finished deck with a fireplace and a covered portion of that rear deck. That would be another 12 feet. So that's different than what the original plans were. And when I mentioned the finished basement has 4 large windows. The previous submission for the January 2020 did not have the finished basement. My point was that this whole house is so close to our property, it would range from about 7 feet or so to 11 or 12 feet. But the brunt of that is on our side of the property, and it affects the vision, the closeness, the physical closeness, and also noise. And to be honest, I never thought of this, but back in 1999, after the Rushes purchased the property, there was no one occupying the house. But there were a couple of times when there were some large gatherings, I guess young people that had gathered at the house, and it was the noise was very, very audible. What I'm trying to say is that having a large house even though it's not larger in terms of square footage than the, I guess, the proposal from January 2020, having such a large house so close to our property makes a difference. The other difference, specific difference that I mentioned is there's a fireplace now on the rear deck. And part of the rear deck where the fireplace is enclosed. The fireplace chimney goes up, I'm not sure because I don't have enough details on the plans to tell how high it is, but it's a little over the first floor. It doesn't go past the second floor or the roof line. So having a fireplace there, again, much closer than where the deck is now. If there are fires, smoke, when the wind is blowing from either south, southwest, or west, is going to come right directly into our house. There's also 2 large maple trees right at the border of the property that would be almost right above this fireplace and chimney. So there is a difference in what was proposed in January 2020. The thing with the driveway and the parking is I noticed that on the application, it mentions again that the Rushes have 4 children. I think there's a high school student, 3 college students, who I assume they're all licensed drivers, and the Rushes, that's 6 cars. Our street, we're on the curve of Riverside Drive. It's very difficult to have cars parked on the street. It's kind of awkward because you're on a curve. And when you're near, when you're trying to exit a driveway and there are cars parked on the street, the line of sight is not the same. It's obstructed. So that's just the point in terms of how many cars are going to be there. And I assume that the Rushes, the children are going to have visitors. The parking may be sufficient for if 2 cars are in the garage, 2 cars are on the driveway or 3, but when there are more than that, they're going to be on the street. So that would be my thing there. As far as the construction, yes, I think Attorney Fallon, you said, and we just want to make sure that whatever the large equipment is that is used, that we're going to have safety on our side of the property. One thing in terms of centering it more, that's one of the things that's new from the last time. If you're going to demolish the house, the house itself, again, is biased towards our side, very close. Why not move it another 5-10 feet away so that it's more evenly distributed on the width of the property? That won't affect. I don't think that affects the tidal wetlands line at all. It's just moving it horizontally, which would give us a lot more relief from having something big, 2.5-story wall, basically, so close to our property. One question I had a second email, and this has to do with, though, the question of hardship, because, again, I'm not a lawyer, and I don't really understand completely what hardship means in that context. And I guess I was trying to make the point in a couple of places where our neighborhood we've lived there 45 years, and the neighborhood has really changed over the years, and for the betterment. It's much nicer. I think homes have been improved. When we first moved here, very modest homes like ours, very modest homes, small lots, but the backyard has a salt marsh, nice view. So in the time we've been here, it's been more attractive to people. And a lot of people have moved here and basically taken small houses, built them up, expanded, whatever, to take advantage of the view and everything, which is fine, and I think it works in most cases. But I think you have to take into account the impact on the neighbor, all the neighbors. In this case, the 2 other neighbors you mentioned, Cindy Tulloch across the street, Jay Ferrara on the other side, the impact of what you're doing here doesn't really affect them at all. So most of the impact of this house falls on us. And my question, though, is with people coming in, building larger houses, you mentioned hardship. Is that hardship because, I know you mentioned the size of the family, 4 children living there, you need extra bedrooms, things like that. So I'm not clear if that's part of the hardship you're claiming. Because to be honest, if it is, if it's not, then disregard that. But if it is, I mean, the Rushes basically knew they were buying a smaller house. And that's where I was making the comment about smaller house versus much larger house. They knew they were buying a house with 3 bedrooms. So is it a hardship when you knowingly buy a house that's smaller than what you need and then want to expand it? And that's a question for the board, for the attorney, whatever. But basically, our concerns are the effect of this, regardless of what we did in January. And to be honest, if I had a do-over, I think I would have probably hired an attorney at that time to take a look at it and say, okay, what do you think? But right now, I think in some ways we have a do-over. And that's what I'm asking the board to consider. What is the impact, whether it's in terms of legally, in terms of setbacks? And I know the setbacks are like this combination, one side plus the other side. But again, on our side, when Attorney Fallon said it's going from 6.5 feet to 7.5 feet, I mean, that's 1 foot. Okay, yeah, that legally is better, but practically speaking, it's practically nothing. So if anybody could, comment on that from the board, or again, my question on the hardship.
Well, Mr. Caramello, it's not a question and answer. You're making your position, and I think your position, which I understand, I think the board understands as well, is you're questioning whether Attorney Fallon has presented a hardship. And I think Attorney Fallon, like any applicant, presents various issues for us to consider. Personal issues are not hardship. A hardship is, something unique to that particular piece of property. And so if that's you're raising a good question, that's for us to consider. But it's not for us to tell you or explain what a hardship is. But you're making your points.
Okay.
That's what's very important.
Okay. And again, I think in one of the emails, the last email I sent when I was kind of focusing on the hardship issue is what exactly is that? I said moving the house another 10 feet away from us would solve a lot of the problems for us. It would make it a little more livable. Now, I understand that it's your decision. If you decide, no, you're going to do it as is, well, that's it. Then I guess I don't know. My choice would be, I guess, to try to pursue it legally, or we probably won't do that, but to do something else. But I guess it's your decision as to whether to approve it with some conditions that would help us.
All right, sir. Thank you. I'm going to move on to see if there's people that have a comment, either in favor or against. Is there anyone else? Okay. Hearing none. Attorney Fallon, I know you addressed a lot of it. Is there anything that you need to highlight?
Yeah, without being redundant and in consideration of your long agenda, I'll try to wrap this up in a minute or two, but just to respond. First of all, obviously the legal hardship is as stated in my material and in my comments, and it's the same hardship that you found in January a year ago. And that's based upon the application of section 31.2.22 of the regulations to this over 15,000 square foot lot that renders it non-conforming for purposes of lot area. That's the hardship. The factors that relate to the family's needs, that's nothing different than you hear on most applications, and it's to provide you some context. Quickly, with regard to parking, I would state again, first of all, we'd love to have 6 cars, but we don't. We have 2, and we might have 3 at some point with the children, but we've got a absolutely compliant situation with regard to parking. On-site parking. Our driveway is more than large enough to accommodate the needs of this family, and most importantly, it complies with the regulations. With regard to the fireplace will be built in accordance with the code requirements, and those include substantial provisions for smoke distribution, containment, and abatement. So that's not going to be an issue. I previously addressed the matter of quote unquote centering it. Again, we're constrained by lot shape. We are, with all due respect to our neighbor, constrained by the location of the floodplain. To move the house would require us to move the driveway to a more curved portion, thereby inhibiting our sight lines. It will also put us much closer and adjacent to our adjacent neighbor on the other side. And the last thing is that the drainage system, as approved by the town, utilizes portions of the property because they don't want any of the drainage system in the rear that is near the marsh. Mr. Caramello said that the homes in this neighborhood have approved. It's made the neighborhood more attractive. He's absolutely right. I've done this, many applications. I've cited to you today numerous applications that you've approved new construction, also on non-conforming lots with more intense FAR and coverage. But at the end of the day, new construction benefits the neighborhood more substantially than even a nice addition would. And I come back to where I was before, respectfully. I find it hard to understand how the impacts of the house can be perceived to be so bad when you consider what's already been approved and the fact that we are eliminating variances for setbacks, reducing coverage, reducing FAR, and moving the house further away than what we could have built under the January approval. So I hope with all that and taking into consideration, we will be mindful of the concerns raised by our neighbor during periods of construction, and we will endeavor to, hopefully be good neighbors. But all the Rushes want to do is live in this beautiful neighborhood, build a beautiful house. The only thing that's non-compliant with their proposal is the coverage and FAR, but that's less than you've already approved for this very lot, and it is supported by Hardship. So that we hope you'll see fit to grant the application so that we can move forward and we can help improve this neighborhood, which is already a beautiful neighborhood, and do our small bit to even make it more attractive. We thank you very much for your time.
Sharon, you had a question on that rebuttal, Jane? Okay, a couple questions.
I have two short ones, which hopefully need short answers. With regards to the fireplace, how do you ensure that there's going to be abatement in terms of smoke away? Because the 7 feet is pretty close to another home.
Yeah, I mean, there are requirements in the building code that deal with maintaining proper safeguards for smoke abatement, smoke control, and so on and so forth. And this particular fireplace will be built to those standards.
I guess my question is, how can you say the distribution of smoke won't permeate into their home? 7 feet is really close. I have a neighbor that's not 7 feet away. When they have a fire pit going, I can feel the smoke through my entire home. That's what
I think between a fire pit and a chimney. And
okay.
The very difference is fire pits don't have any building code requirements with regard to the very things I'm talking about here.
Okay.
And that's a big difference, I think.
So you think that the smoke is not going to permeate their home?
I do. And we'll see to that. And, I would say, Mr. Tramello is on the line here. If that were to become any problem, although, again, we don't anticipate that it will, if the fireplace is built to code requirements. But if it is, we'll work that with them in a neighborly manner that will protect their quiet enjoyment of their home.
Well, that was my question. Could the fireplace be moved?
I can't really, I don't think so, but I can tell you we'll be very careful in terms of its construction and utilization, and make sure it does comply with the regs.
All right. Then the second question I have is regarding the drainage that you said was already laid out. Apologies, I'm not an architect, so this is where I have a little bit of a, layman's look at this. You can't move it horizontally because what part of the drainage would be impacted? I wasn't clear on that.
The problem that we have is we have a Coltex drainage system as approved by the town.
Right.
Normally, you could utilize portions of the backyard for that drainage system, thereby giving you more ability to move the house to a more central.
I know you've got protected land in the back. I'm asking why you can't go towards a little bit away from the home. That you said that had to do with the drainage, like why you couldn't.
Yeah, because we're putting the drainage. The drainage is going into the side yard because we can't put it in the rear because
I understand
won't let us because of the proximity to the marsh.
Thank you for re-clarifying. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Jane, you had a question?
Yeah. I'm just curious why you need to come back for a second variance. If you have a variance for a bigger project, why do you have to? I mean, why can't you just build this under that variance?
I tried, Jane. I tried, but it was the decision of staff, who I respect, Mr. Decker and Mr. Wendt, that since your January application was approved in the context of a submitted set of plans, that any substantial adjustment to those plans, and this would certainly be a substantial adjustment, would require us to come back. But we did have that. We had that discussion. I think that's a precedent point. I'm not pushing it here, but the decision from the staff was that when you approve a variance, even though that variance is recorded and runs with the land, to the extent that plans were submitted, that they also become an integral part of your approval.
Because we've run into situations where projects were built ultimately very differently than the plans that were submitted, and that's come up.
Right, but the question you raise is interesting, and again, I don't want to beat the dead horse here because you have to move on. But it's so crazy to me because from the standpoint of the Charmellos, if you were to deny this application, which would be inconsistent with your January application, then I'm going to have to build a bigger house with more FAR, more coverage, closer to them, and it won't be as attractive because it's not new construction and it's frankly not as seamless as this proposal is. So I mean, I'm not criticizing them or trying to be argumentative, but your point raises that issue. We have a recorded variance here that allows for a more intense development.
Okay, thank you.
If there's no other questions, the matter is on 399 Riverside is now closed.
Thank you, gentlemen, ladies. I appreciate it.
On number 4, 72 Willow Street, map 241, parcel 135, petition of Kevin Lignac for variance of zoning regulations, section 5.2.5 to increase lot coverage from 15%, currently 15.4%, proposing 15.8%, permission to construct a one-story addition premises are zoned. Attorney Fitzpatrick, this is your application again?
It is, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chair and members of the board, for the record, my name is Bill Fitzpatrick. I'm here this afternoon representing Kevin Lignac, owner of a single-family home located at 72 Willow Street. Property is located at the corner of Old South Road and Willow Street, and it is part of the Southport Historic District. This home was constructed per the assessor's records in 1796. Property is located in the R3 zoning district, contains 26,121 square feet. The well-respected architectural firm of Franz and Associates has been engaged by Mr. Lignac to provide architectural services in order to renovate this home in a fashion which is consistent with its location in the Southport Historic District. One element of the renovation of this home, which is not before this board, is the replacement of the existing dormers on the front of this home. The part of the renovation which is the subject of this application involves the enclosure of a small porch on the westerly side of the home, creating an expanded mudroom. In order to accommodate the enclosure of the small porch, the applicant is requesting a variance of section 5.2.5 of the zoning regulations to permit an increase in lot coverage from 15%, presently 15.4%, to 15.8% in order to permit the construction of a mudroom addition. At this point, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to introduce Mr. Jack Franzen, who's well known to this board and who is a principal of Franz and Associates with offices at 1244 Post Road, to further describe the proposed enclosure. Jack.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you, Bill. Yeah, I'm at 1241 Post Road, FYI, but that's close. So this house is, as Bill explained, it's quite old. It was built in the late 1790s, and it was renovated in the 1850s. And I believe the garage, the beautiful barn there, is part of that 1850s, just judging stylistically, it's part of that 1850 renovation. It's listed in the Southport Historic Guidebook. If you're familiar with the inside of the house, which you may or may not be, the main stairs in the house are gorgeous. They're absolutely beautiful. But the two other sets of stairs, the stairs to the attic, are just an impossibly treacherous series of pie-shaped steps. And the only way to get to the basement is to go outdoors onto this covered porch. And basically you're going downstairs like what you would see in an old bulkhead that are very, very steep and dangerous, and you hit your head on the way down. And also, if it's snowing, the snow can blow right into that porch. There's no climate control there at all. In the context of all the work that we were doing basically in that part of the house, renovating the kitchen, I thought it would make sense to at least ask permission to see if we could simultaneously create a small enclosed utility space there that would not only protect that area from the weather, but also allow us to build a safe, normal stair where you'd actually be able to go down a series of steps that are comfortable. And so if you look at the plan, you'll see that's part of it. We're proposing an extension. It's a little less than 5 feet off the existing footprint of what exists now. In any other part of Fairfield, you might be able to just say, well, the barn is pretty big. It's 20 by 30. We could shave 5 feet off the barn and use that square footage. But the Southport Historic District, which was created back in, I think, 1966, when they did it, they did a survey. There were 147 primary dwellings in Southport in the historic district and only 55 outbuildings. So they really treasure these old, whether they're barns, stables, carriage houses, potting sheds, whatever. It's really a beautiful building. And I think if we did ask to change it or tear it down or make any adjustments in that barn, it would get denied by the Historic District Commission. So the request for 104 square feet to make this work, I think is pretty reasonable. If there ever was a situation where a very small waiver would result in making the house safer and more practical, I think this is it. We did distribute plans to the neighbors, and we only heard back from 2 of them so far, but they were the ones that I think are the ones that would have been interested. Mr. Svensk, who lives to the south, who looks directly at this part of the property. They are both on corner lots. And then Mr. Clark, who lives immediately to the west. He's got shrubs between him and this property, but if the shrubs weren't there, he would clearly see this addition. And if we do get approved, of course, we have to go to Historic District. They have to bless this as well. But unless you have any further questions, I'll turn it back to Bill.
Thank you, Jack. Mr. Chairman, the test for the granting of a variance is set forth in the Smith case, 1978 case, which states regarding hardship under General Statute, Section 8-6, Parens 3 and Parens, local zoning board may grant a variance where 2 basic conditions are met. 1, the variance is shown not to affect substantially the comprehensive zoning plan, and 2, adherence to the strict letter of the zoning regulations is shown to cause unusual hardship unnecessary to the carrying out of the general purpose of the zoning plan. End quote. First part of the test, no substantial effect on the comprehensive plan is satisfied here with the proposed use. The construction of a mudroom addition is a permitted use in the residence R3 zone. Second part of the test, adherence to the strict letter of the zoning regulations is shown to cause unusual hardship unnecessary to the carrying out of the general purpose of the zoning plan is satisfied, I would submit, in this instance by several factors. First, as you heard from Mr. Franzen, home at present contains no interior access to the basement. The only access from the outdoors is by means of a steep, unsafe stair. The proposed expanded mudroom provides interior access to the cellar by means of a normal set of stairs. And the small proposed increase in coverage for it involves only a small increase in coverage for approximately 104 square feet. Also, as Jack noted, the board would recognize that in a normal set of circumstances, this could have been offset by removal of the portion of the large barn on the property. That historic barn contains 600 square feet, constitutes significant coverage. But as you also heard from Jack, since the barn is historic, any significant change to the barn would likely meet a denial from the HDC. Board should take note of the fact that the proposed mudroom addition cannot be construed as an overbuilding of this property. The home with the addition in place will have a floor area ratio of 22.9%, significantly less than the permitted floor area ratio in the R3 zone of 30%. The proposed mudroom is located almost 100 feet from the closest abutting neighbor. And as you heard again from Jack Franzen, the two most affected neighbors, Mr. Spence and George Clark, have indicated they have no objection to this application. Approval of this variance request permits the construction of an expanded mudroom, constitutes a relatively small increase in coverage, provides the homeowners with a safe interior access to their basement, and will be done in a manner which is consistent with the existing historic architecture. For the reasons I've outlined, I'd request this application be approved. Jack Franzen and I will be happy to answer any questions the board may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Fitzpatrick. Does the board have any questions for Attorney Fitzpatrick or Mr. Franzen? Shaking the head, no. So no questions. Now I'll open it up. Does anyone on the call-in list have any comments either in favor or opposed to this application, which is 72 Willow Street? All right, hearing none, the application and hearing for 72 Willow Street is now closed. We'll take that up further. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Next item that we have is number 5. That's 879 Bronson Road, map 177, parcel 186. Petition of Daniel and Jennifer Najjar for variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.2.4, to reduce the side setback for 25 feet, currently 24.9 feet, proposing 24.9 feet, and section 5.2.5 to increase total lot coverage from 10%, currently 10.4%, proposing 10.5%. Permission to construct a side open porch and enclose a rear covered porch. Premises AA zone. I think the applicants were presenting this themselves there. Jennifer, go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon, Chairman and members of the board, and thank you for the opportunity to join you today. Hopefully you can hear me okay. So my name is Jennifer Najjar, and I reside at 879 Bronson Road with my husband, Daniel, and my 2 young sons, Henry, who's 5, and James, who's 2.5. As mentioned, I'll be representing our family today on this matter. So our plans are to embark on a kitchen and mudroom expansion to accommodate our growing family. And so we're petitioning the board to maintain our setback of 25 feet at the 24.9 feet. Which is what it was when we purchased the property, and increase our lot coverage from 10%, we're currently at 10.4% as it was when we purchased the home as well, to 10.5% to accommodate the side entry, expanded mudroom, and the overall kitchen expansion. So essentially, we would like to relocate our present rear entry door to the side of our home to accommodate these changes. So as part of this project, we did reach out to all 4 of our adjacent neighbors who provided their support of this request. And our neighbors whose property would be most impacted by this proposed construction happens to be my parents, who are also supportive. Melanie Marks is joining me today on the line as a sign of support. So simply put, we love our home and all of its character elements. It was built in 1932. We love its proximity, of course, to my parents and the experiences we get to share as a family. So really do not wish to move. And, we appreciate the chairman and the board's consideration of our request. This request for a small request in coverage would, if permitted, would really allow us to continue to enjoy our home with our family in the coming years. So that's the extent of my remarks, and I appreciate everyone's time today.
Thank you, Mrs. Najjar. Does anyone have any questions? And I figured when we saw the little petition in favor when it said love, that it was someone that was related, because not too many of the neighbors are that affectionate. Anyone have any questions for Jennifer? Okay, hearing no questions. Is there anyone that wishes to speak to this application, 879 Bronson Road, either for or against?
Hi, yes,
Hi, yes,
this
this is Melanie Mark. I live at 895 Bronson Road, and obviously you now know that I am Jennifer.
Ms. Marks, you're breaking up a little bit. We can't hear you.
Hello?
Yes, is this Ms. Marks?
Yes, it is. I'm not sure what's going. Can you hear me?
We can now, yes.
Okay, yes. My name is Melanie Marks. I live at 895 Bronson Road, and you obviously now know that I am Jennifer's mother and the grandmother of Henry and James. I am the only really abutting neighbor that would have any concern about the construction, and obviously I don't, nor does my husband. So we're hoping that you do find in favor of approving this variance. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Marks. Is there anyone else that has a comment either for or opposed to this application, 879 Bronson Road? All right, hearing nothing further, the hearing for 879 Bronson Road is now closed. Thank you. We'll be taking that up later in this hearing. Number 6. 1009 Reading Road, map 221, parcel 28, petition of James and Diane Caserta for variance of the zoning regulations section 5.2.4 to reduce the street line setback from 60 feet, currently 43.6 feet, proposing 44.7 feet, permission to construct a one-story addition, premises AAA zone. I believe Attorney Klein is presenting this. There you go. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Attorney Jonathan Klein with Parcel Law Group. My office is at 60 Lion Terrace in Bridgeport, and I'm here on behalf of Dr. and Mrs. Caserta, the petitioners. The petitioner's house, which according to the tax assessor's records was built in 1938, is situated on the westerly side of Reading Road. And the portion of the house which right now is closest to Reading Road is already within the 60-foot street line setback of regulation section 5.2.4 and is an existing non-conforming use in that regard. And as can be seen in the GIS map, which is attached to the application, this 2.9 acre parcel is bisected from north to south by the Great Brook. And the presence of the Great Brook forced the construction of this house towards the front easterly portion of the lot, closer to Reading Road than it otherwise might have been, less than 60 feet away. It is currently, the portion of the house that's closest to the road is 43.6 feet from the road. The front portion of the house is separated from Reading Road by a paved driveway which runs parallel to the house and a parallel wooded strip of land with an old low stone fence that runs the length of that strip. It's what the Casertas would like to do is expand the kitchen area so they can have an eat-in area for the first time since they've lived in that house, and add a pantry, a closet, and even a laundry area. And it's not possible to create that proposed addition. And by the way, I put in the petition approximately 108 square feet because it's about 29 feet by 4 feet. To be precise, the measurements are come out to 132.64 square feet. But it's not possible to create that modest addition without moving the front wall of that section of the house 4 feet closer to Reading Road. It would still be 1.1 feet further away from the road than the existing closest point of the house is to the road. But the topographical limitation that I talked about that is caused by the presence of the Great Brook running through the property is which affected the location of the original house, has the same effect on the ability to expand the kitchen. They can only go forward. Connecticut General Statute Section 8-6A3 permits a zoning board of appeals to grant a variance of the zoning regulations if it is in harmony with the general purpose and intent and with due consideration for conserving the public health, safety, convenience, welfare, and property values solely with respect to a parcel of land where, owing to conditions especially affecting such parcel, but not generally affecting the district in which it is situated, a literal enforcement of such bylaws, ordinances, or regulations would result in exceptional difficulty or unusual hardship, so that substantial justice will be done and the public safety and welfare secured. That's a quote from the statute. The expansion of that Dr. and Mrs. Caserta would like to do would result in a barely perceptible change to the look and even the footprint of the house. The siding on that new construction would match up with the existing siding on the house. It would add 3 windows. That's really the only perceptible change to the look from the street. It would therefore have no impact whatsoever on the comprehensive plan of the town and the general purpose of the zoning regulations with respect to the character of the neighborhood generally, and it will have no detrimental effect on public health, safety, convenience, welfare, or property values of the nearby properties, all of which will remain conserved. The unique topographical feature that I've talked about, which forced the location of the house to where it's been standing now for some 82 years, does not generally affect the AAA zone in which the parcel is situated, and the construction of this proposed expansion won't change that. So the petitioners are faced with an exceptional difficulty or unusual hardship within the meaning of the statute and the case law that construes that statute, and it permits and justifies the variance that we're asking for. And we respectfully submit that granting this petition would do substantial justice and secure the public safety and welfare also, as the statute contemplates and requires. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Attorney Klein. Does anyone have any questions for Attorney Klein on this application? Seeing none, hearing none. Now I'll open this up to anyone on the call-in list or the call-in that has any comment either for or against application at 1009 Reading Road. All right, hearing none. Hearing on 1009 Reading Road is now closed. We'll take this up in our working session. Thank you, Attorney Klein.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Next item that we have is number 7, 200 Harvester Road, map 49, parcel 23, petition of Arthur Baruch for a variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.2.5 to increase lot coverage and total floor area from 15% and 30%, proposing 15.8% and 31.1%. Permission to legitimize a construction area premises R3. Attorney Fitzpatrick.
Yes, indeed, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Bill Fitzpatrick. I'm here representing Arthur Baruch. Do I have feedback there, Mr. Chairman? I'm here representing Arthur Baruch, the owner of the property at 200 Harvester Road. This property is located in the R3 zoning district. R3 zoning district has a minimum lot area requirement of 20,000 square feet. Property here contains 10,625 square feet, or just over half of the minimum lot area requirement. The applicant has constructed a new single-family home on the premises. The applicant had never constructed a new home in the town of Fairfield before. As the result of on-site topographical conditions and construction errors, the new home is minimally over on lot coverage and floor area ratio. Therefore, the applicant is before the board requesting a variance of section 5.2.5 of the regulations to permit an increase in coverage from 15% to 15.8%, and an increase in total floor area ratio from 30% to 31.1%. The test for the granting of a variance is set forth in the Smith case, 1978 case, which states, quote, regarding hardship under general statutes, section 8-6, parents 3 and parents, local zoning board may grant a variance where two basic conditions are met. One, the variance is shown not to affect substantially the comprehensive zoning plan. And two, adherence to the strict letter of the zoning regulations is shown to cause unusual hardship unnecessary to the carrying out of the general purpose of the zoning plan. First part of the test, the substantial effect on the comprehensive plan is satisfied here where the proposed use, a newly constructed single-family home, is certainly a permitted use in the R3 zoning district. Second part of the test, adherence to the strict letter of the zoning regulations is shown to cause unusual hardship unnecessary to the carrying out of the general purpose of the zoning plan, is satisfied here, I'd submit, by several factors. The first variance request is an increase in coverage from 15 to 15.8%. This coverage overage is relatively minimal. It comprises approximately 85 square feet. It's due primarily to the need for unanticipated steps in both the front and rear of the home, and the unanticipated need for construction of an electric meter access platform. The original plan called for the raising of the grade of the lot, which would have reduced the number of steps needed, but this was not done since the owner believed it would result in the diversion of stormwater onto neighboring properties. It should be noted that the coverage overage does not constitute living area, as it basically is steps and an electrical meter access platform. The existing overage in total floor area is also minor, 1.1% or approximately 117 square feet. The floor area overage is due primarily to a framing error. I'm not a construction expert, but in some manner, the framer, without my client's knowledge or permission, raised the peak of the roof in the attic area in such a manner that a portion of the attic is now technically considered as floor area because it is in excess of 6 feet 11 inches to the ridge. We did submit pictures with the application that show that attic area. Yeah, that attic area is not a finished area, and there are existing cross ties in place, which reduce the effective height of this attic area to less than the 6 feet 11 inches required to qualify the area as attic and not be counted as floor area. The zoning department interpretation of the regs, which they've been very consistent in, is that this area is technically counted as floor area. The most critical fact for the board to take into account in evaluating this variance request is the fact that the property is a legal, pre-existing, non-conforming building lot. Property contains 10,625 square feet in the R3 zone with a minimum lot area requirement of 20,000 square feet. So the lot is approximately just over half of the required minimum lot area. The lot contains a minimum square of 80.6 feet, less than the required square of 100 feet. The relevant coverage limitation of 15% in the R3 zone is based on the minimum lot area for the R3 zone of 20,000 square feet. Similarly, the relevant R3 floor area ratio max of 30% is based on the minimum lot area in the R3 zone of 20,000 square feet. Here, the lot contains 10,625 square feet and is more appropriately located in the Residence A zone, which has a minimum lot area of 9,375 square feet and a minimum square of 75 square feet. This lot satisfies the Residence A requirements. It falls far short of satisfying the R3 lot area and square requirements. Taking into account the fact that the relevant coverage and floor area maximums are related necessarily to the size of the lot, the existing coverage of 15.8% is well within the Residence A coverage limitation of 20%, and the existing floor area ratio of 31.1% is again fully consistent with the Residence A floor area ratio maximum of 40%. My point is simply that the coverage and floor area increases are fully appropriate under the zoning regs crafted for a lot of this size and dimension. My client has obtained the signatures of 4 abutting neighbors on a petition indicating they have no objection to this application. That's been submitted to the zoning department. For the reasons I've outlined, I'd request this application be approved. My client has a potential buyer for the new home, but needs to resolve these issues in order to obtain a certificate of occupancy and be able to sell. The overages here are minimal and again, fully consistent with the zoning regulations for a lot of this size. My client had planned on being on this virtual hearing. I do not see him on the board, so I would be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Sorry, my space bar didn't allow me to unmute for some reason. So there we go. Thank you, Attorney Fitzpatrick. Any questions on 200 Harvester Road? Okay, no questions. All right, I'd like to open this up to people who might be on the call-in. Any comments for or against 200 Harvester Road?
Mr. Chair, it does look like the property owner is on the phone call.
Okay. Does he want to comment in favor?
Tell him not to comment.
Always listen to your attorney. Okay. Having no other comment, we're going to close the hearing, public hearing on number 7, 200 Harvester Road. Thank you, Attorney Fitzpatrick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Next item that we have is number 8, and that is 41 Old Elm Road, map 26, parcel 280, petition of Vera and Vansler Candini for a variance of zoning regulations, section 5.2.4 to reduce the 2 sideline setbacks and street line setback from 15 feet and 40 feet, currently 10.8 feet and 23.8 feet, proposing 23.8 feet, proposing 10.8 feet, 6.7 feet, and 23.8 feet, and section 5.2.5 to increase lot coverage from 15%, currently 17.82%, proposing 17.63%, permission to construct 1-story addition to attached garage and 2nd floor addition over existing footprint premises, R3 zone. I think they were on earlier. Yes, go ahead, sir.
Yes, thank you very much, and thanks for the opportunity. So we are asking for application. This house was built in 1941 as in the lot area is 8,075 square feet, whereas 20 is more minimum square lot is 67 existing, where 100 is required. With this limitation, the house is considered non-conform with the current code. That's why we are allowed to build in the first floor. That's why we are not allowed to build in the first floor additional and the shed dorm onto the existing footprint. So we believe by the adding a partial shed dorm on the 2nd floor, we improve the face, giving a better fit to the neighborhood and make the house more function to us. Because right now we have two girls, 17 and 15. They have their 2 bedrooms upstairs, but they don't have a bathroom. So that will be very helpful for us. And also the kitchen, as 1941 Cape, the kitchen is very small. So we're just trying to add a little on the back. So nothing on the sidewise. And we are proud to live in Fairfield as our hometown. We've been living here. Actually, I'm not there. I'm in Brazil for vacation. We come to see our parents here. We've been living there for 15 years, and we love to keep living there. So that's why we like to get this opportunity to improve our home with all the necessary regulations and codes.
All right, thank you, sir. And just for the record, you're Mr. Candini, an owner of this property, correct?
Correct. Yes, sir.
All right. I'd like to find out if the board has any questions for Mr. Candini. No questions. Is there anyone, I'll open this up to call in. Is there anyone on the call in that wishes to speak to this particular application? It's 41 Old Elm Road. Hearing no one. Thank you, Mr. Candini. We're going to close the hearing on 41 Old Elm Road. We'll be taking this up later in our working session. Hearing is closed on 41 Old Elm Road. Our next matter is number 9, 28 Robson Place, map 139, parcel 336. Petition of Colleen Webb and Jonathan Interfeld for a variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.2.4, to reduce the sum of 2 sideline setbacks from 25 feet, currently 21.4 feet, proposing 21.4 feet, and section 5.2.5 to increase the lot coverage and total floor area from 20% and 40%, currently 34.82% and 43.8%, proposing 32.8% and 49.99%. Permission to remove rear landing and stairs, construct new landing, stairs, and second floor addition. Premises A zone. I think I saw the Webb's unmute.
Hello, Mr. Chairman and board. My name is Mark Pinard, and we are the designers of the proposed improvements at 28 Robson Place. And we'll present the application to you as agent for the homeowners, Colleen Webb and Jonathan Interfeld, who are also on this call.
Great. All right. Thank you, Mr. Pinard.
Great. We're looking to construct a second floor addition at the rear above existing one-story construction. The new heights will be lower than the main existing roof, and the interior of the additions are going to consist of a new bedroom, a new bathroom, and a renovated bathroom. And the project also includes removing an existing open rear deck at the first floor along the driveway. We're just seeking the reasonable opportunity to improve and update the personal use of the property. The floor area limit of 2,054 square feet for this non-conforming lot just restricts the size of the dwelling to one that we feel is not commensurate with the neighborhood dwellings. Our proposed work has a number of features that I feel are illustrate the absence of negative change, and they're demonstrated by none of the alterations can be seen from the street. From the street facade, you don't see any of the new work. There's no reductions in any side yard setbacks or dimensions. There's no increase in existing building footprint size or shape. There's no increase in the overall building height, and there's no proposed change of use. And then some positive changes that are affected by the proposed work is demonstrated by the removal of the rear deck. It reduces the non-conforming lot coverage area that exists. The proposed work is more in character with the original house in neighborhood. There's an addition currently on the back of the house that's 1 story high with a flat roof, and the new work is going to, I think, make that be more in keeping with the rest of the main original house and the rest of the neighborhood. And the proposed work increases the viability of the dwelling as a year-round home for the family. So I can take questions. That's our presentation. I think the drawings are pretty, they show the new work happening at the rear.
Thank you, Mr. Bernard. Is the board any questions for Mr. Bernard? And I know that the webs are available for questions as well on this call. So if the board has any questions for either, let me know. Okay. Where? Oh, there's Terry. I thought I lost Terry for a moment. You're still there. Good. Okay. Hearing no questions, I'm going to now open it up to see if there's anyone that has any comment on number 9, which is 28 Robson Place. Any comments either for or against that application? Okay, hearing no comments. We'll be closing the hearing on 28 Robson Place. We'll take that up when we vote later. And thank you, Mr. Pennard, for the presentation. Next item, number 10, 275 North Cedar Road. That has been continued to February. Number 11, 7 Innes Lane, map 232, parcel 65, petition to John Cusmano and Kim D'Agostino for variance of the zoning regulations section 5.2.4.3 to reduce the street setback on a corner lot from 60 feet, proposing 41.2 feet, permission to construct an in-ground pool, premises B zone. And all right, I thank Mr. Cody. You're presenting that? I can't hear you. Your phone headset is on mute. Nope.
Mr. Cody, you're going to have to call in, I think.
He's already listed as being called in and he's in 2 spots.
He is in 2 spots. Let me check the other one. There we go. I sent the request on to unmute him. Mr. Cody, you have to unmute yourself. Yeah,
If he's muted, he may not hear what you're saying to him. Maybe you need to text him.
He can hear us because he started talking.
yeah. He can hear us. Yeah, he can hear us. Yeah, call in. Yeah, you may need to unplug your headset, Mr. Cody.
Yeah.
I can't hear you on that either.
Matt, he can try the regular phone number, see if that works.
The 667 number?
Yeah.
Mr. Cody, what no? Oh, he can't hear me, so let me send him a message.
I can send it in the link.
Yeah, I got it here. All right. Mr. Cody, I just sent you a phone number through the chat to call in.
Okay.
What was that?
I'm connected now through the audio. I'm going to hang up on my phone.
There you go.
All right, we can hear you now. Thank you.
All right, start your presentation, sir. Thank you.
I was using video and telephone for audio. I'm Christopher Cody. I'm with Cody & Ganello. We're a firm at 185 Broad Street in Newport. I represent the Cusmanos. The application, as you can see, is for a variation of 5.2.4.3. Because this is a corner lot in a B zone, an accessory structure is subject to 60-foot setbacks as measured from both Ennis Lane and from Oldfield Road. So the strict and literal application of the regulation to the corner lot in the B zone would result in an undue hardship because it would restrict the area of Mr. and Mrs. Cusmano's lot, which is available for an accessory structure. such as a pool, to the point where it constitutes a hardship because it unduly restricts the usable area of the lot and deprives the applicant of the reasonable use of the property. In other words, the strict application of the setback regulation squeezes the proposed pool further back from the streets on two sides on what are considered two front yards, while at the same time squeezing it away from the rear property line, also on two sides, restricting the use of the backyard to a smaller and smaller corner, and there's no other place to locate it. So the request results in a 5-foot setback on the side yard and the rear yard, which I think are both considered rear yards because both sides are considered front yards. And that's the substance of the application.
Thank you, Mr. Cody. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Cody on the application? All right. No questions. I'm not going to open this up to see if there's anyone on the call-in that has a comment, either for or against the application number 11 in the public hearing, which is 7 Innes Lane. All right. No questions and no comments. Okay, we're going to be closing the hearing on 7 Innes Lane. Thank you, Mr. Cody. It took longer to connect than it did for your for the hearing.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next item is number 12, and on number 12, Jane is recusing, and Faith Dillon is sitting for Jane on that. It's 11 Umpqua Road, map 180, parcel 244, petition of Fairfield Community Theater LLC for a variance of the zoning regulations section 30.2 to reduce the distance between two cafe permits from 1,500 feet, proposing 260 feet, permission to establish a cafe as part of the community theater project, premises CDD zone. Attorney Fitzpatrick, you're up again.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, for the record, my name is Bill Fitzpatrick. I'm here this afternoon representing the Fairfield Community Theater LLC, owner of the property known as the Community Theater property, which includes 11 Umpqua Road. 11 Umpqua Road is located to the north, if you will, of the actual theater itself. This property is located in the Center Designed Business District. By way of a brief history, Community Theater opened around 1923 as a vaudeville house, changed to an all-film format in 1929, and was extensively renovated in 1933, including the construction of a balcony and a neon-tubed Art Deco marquee. Community Theater was closed by Lowe's Cineplex in 2001, which soon reopened as an independent movie house. It did finally close in 2011 as a movie house and was left vacant until last year when a restoration project was commenced by the new owner, which is an affiliate of Cleveland Properties and the Cleveland family. A 10-year lease with Sacred Heart University of the theater space will provide the university with space for performances and programs and allow the university to continue its tradition of cultural programs and entertainment in downtown Fairfield. As part of the complete restoration and rehabilitation of this iconic corner of downtown Fairfield, the applicant is proposing to lease the space to the north of the theater to a new restaurant to be known as Cafe Monica. This restaurant will be a European-style cafe, will provide a convenient dining option for theater goers and downtown patrons. The Cafe Monaco use requires a cafe liquor permit. The Town of Fairfield zoning regulations, which did eliminate the 1,500-foot rule for restaurant liquor permits, did not eliminate the 1,500-foot rule for cafe permits. The difference between a cafe permit and a restaurant permit, as per the State Liquor Control Commission, is technical in nature and relates to the separation between the dining area and the bar area. As a result, the applicant is requesting a variance of section 30.2 of the zoning regulations to reduce the distance between cafe permits from 1,500 feet to 260 feet, which is the distance to the Chelsea, a cafe located at 12 Umpqua Place, which I believe is the nearest cafe permit. There are about a dozen cafe permits in use in downtown Fairfield. The test for the granting of a variance is set forth in the case of Smith versus Zoning Board of Appeals, 1978 case, which states, quote, regarding hardship under general statutes, section 8-6, parents 3 and parents, the local zoning board may grant a variance where two basic conditions are met. One, the variance is shown not to affect substantially the comprehensive zoning plan, and two, adherence to the strict letter of the zoning regulations is shown to cause unusual hardship unnecessary to the carrying out of the general purpose of the zoning plan, end quote. First part of the test, no substantial effect on the comprehensive plan is satisfied here, where the proposed use, a European-style cafe, is certainly a permitted use in the center design zone. The second part of the test, adherence to the strict letter of the zoning regulations, is shown to cause unusual hardship unnecessary to the carrying out of the purpose of the zoning plan is satisfied here, I'd submit, by several factors. Some members of the Zoning Board of Appeals may recall the testimony it received during its consideration of the variance request for a waiver of the very same 1,500-foot rule for the creation of a cafe liquor permit at the Webster Bank Building, which is now the Malibu Taco Restaurant. At that public hearing before the Zoning Board of Appeals, Attorney Kevin Gumper, who did not represent any party in the application, testified to the board that he was a member of the Zoning Revision Committee, and that the Zoning Revision Committee, which recommended the elimination of the 1,500-foot rule for restaurant permits, fully expected that that elimination would apply to all restaurants, not merely full restaurant permits. This, as the board is well aware, is not what resulted when the regulations were actually revised. The 1,500-foot rule no longer applies to full restaurant permits, but does, likely inadvertently, still apply to cafe permits, which is the reason the applicant is here requesting this waiver. The Zoning Board of Appeals has recognized over the years the rationale for waiving the 1,500-foot rule for cafe permits, approving such variances for the creation of Molto at 1215 Post Road, Grace O'Malley's at 1494 Post Road, Bodega at 1700 Post Road, Castle on Post at 222 Post Road, Taza at 116 Post Road, with the most recent addition to the cafe permit variance list being the restaurant now known as Malibu Taco in the Webster Bank Building. My point is that such a waiver is not new and unusual, but it has become a relatively common occurrence, particularly in the downtown area. An important element of the cafe permit discussion is the fact that restaurants have become a driving force in the continued revitalization of Fairfield's downtown. On Thursday, Friday, Saturday, even Sunday nights, downtown has people on the street, visiting restaurants, visiting cafes, having dinner here, having dessert there. Cafes are a good thing for the town of Fairfield, particularly its downtown. The restoration of the community theater, after a significant period of inactivity at a prime corner in downtown, is a very positive development for downtown Fairfield. The addition of a new restaurant to be owned and operated by successful downtown restaurateurs who are part of the ownership of Molto, Sinclair, and Malibu Taco is yet another positive development for the town. The variance of the 1,500-foot rule, unintentionally left in place when the full restaurant 1,500-foot rule was eliminated, makes good sense and permits the addition of a quality restaurant to Fairfield's thriving restaurant scene. For the reasons I've outlined, I'd request this application be approved. I see that Mr. Ken Kleban and Mr. Evan Kleban are on this call, and they and I would be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Thank you, Attorney Fitzpatrick. Does the board have any questions for Attorney Fitzpatrick or either of the Klebans?
My only question would be on the way it's drawn out. The patio seems to impact the available space for the community theater to lease and take in I'm not sure how many people come at one time, 100, 150, 200. And that would not happen unless it was a restaurant, because restaurants have patios. As it's drawn, is that the way it's going to be? The 440 square foot patio seems to be very large.
My understanding is, I'm sorry. My understanding is that the town has leased that space to the Community Theater LLC, and that is the intent going forward. This application still needs to go to the Town Plan and Zoning Commission, because there is a change of use from retail to restaurant, and the Planning and Zoning Commission will review the proposed outdoor seating as well as the change in use to the restaurant. So I think that's the opportunity to address any issues regarding the patio. This application is simply the ability to waive the 1,500-foot rule for a cafe liquor permit.
So what you're saying is the patio has not yet been approved by TP&Z?
That's correct.
That size. Okay.
Any other questions? Thanks, Faith. Any other questions? Okay, having no other questions, I'll now open this up to call-in. Is there anyone on the call-in that wishes to speak to this application, 11 Encore Road, the Fairfield Community Theater? Hearing none. Attorney Fitzpatrick, did that event want to speak? I'm not sure.
Matt, is Mr. Kleban trying to speak?
No, I'm not. Mr. Kleban is unmuted, but I have not heard him.
Okay. I have nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
Just making sure they both of the Cleveland boxes were unmuted, so I didn't know if they wanted to speak. All right. No other questions, no other comments. We're closing the hearing on 11 Encore Road, Fairfield Community Theater. Thank you, Attorney Fitzpatrick.
Thank you.
Next item that we have is number 13. And Jane, you're back. Okay. Number 13, 101 Robert Lane, map 177, parcel 2, petition of Catherine Gusson for variance of the zoning regulations section 5.2.4 to reduce the street line and rear line setbacks from 30 feet and 30 feet, currently 20.7 feet and 30.7 feet, proposing 20.7 feet and 11.6 feet, and section 5.2.5 to increase lot coverage and total floor area from 20% and 40%, currently 15.43% and 23.62%, proposing 23.62% and 41.4%, permission to construct a two-story and second floor addition, premises A zone. Ms. Gusson, I believe you're on the call and presenting. Thank you. Go ahead.
It's good to see you. I am Catherine Gusson. I am the owner of 101 Robert Lane, and I am seeking the board's approval of the requested variances based on the condition of my lot. I bought this house, just by way of background. I bought the house 10 years ago. We love it as much now as we did then, but the reality is that we are in need of some additional space. I have 5 children, and my mother is now living with us. And as I mentioned, I've been before this board before, so I think you know that she's nearly 80 years old, and the stairs have really become an issue. That's why I'm seeking a portion of the addition to be a first floor bedroom for her. I think it's important to note that we did look to move before we settled in on the process of doing this addition, but as I've mentioned, we really had trouble competing with some of the newer families moving in to the area. What they were willing to pay for properties, we just really couldn't compete. So we are resigned to do the best we can with our property and, and exploring this addition. I was diagnosed with breast cancer 7 years ago. It has twice recurred, so going back to an office setting is not a legitimate possibility for me regarding work. That's why a portion of the addition that I'm requesting would be a home office included. It's the only thing that really makes sense for me now. I need to create a functioning workspace at home. And we've worked really hard to make the reductions on the total floor area over the past few months. I think we have a, compelling use of the house here between those two issues. We've reduced the size of the addition considerably from the first time we were before you. We've removed all porches and things like that, anything covered that added to that value, we tried to reduce. If you look at the existing survey, you'll see that the lot is a very irregular shape. It's almost more of a triangle than it is a square. And as the house sits now, it's actually already in those setbacks on one portion. We'd really just be going up on the left side, staying in those setbacks. I think that the proposed structure really is keeping in the harmony of this neighborhood. They're building new, large homes constantly, certainly through my little entanglement of streets here and on the neighboring roads. So I don't see that it upsets any situation that way. I've spoken to all of my neighbors over the last 4 months. We've had to do this. I've never heard any objections. They're excited for us. And I think that the proposal is keeping in vein with the community and with this neighborhood specifically. And I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Anyone on the board? Questions? All right. No questions. Okay. And I'm opening it up now to call-in. Is there anyone on the call-in that has a comment, either for or against 101 Robert Lane? All right. No one on the call-in. Okay, that concludes the hearing on number 13, 101 Robert Lane. Thank you very much, ma'am, for the presentation. And we'll be discussing this in our working session when we complete the rest of the public hearing. Thank you very much. The next item that we have is number 14, 11 Days Lane, map 243, parcel 283, petition of Andrew and Elizabeth Allen for variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.2.4 to reduce the street lane setback from 40 feet, currently 18.4 feet, proposing 20.5 feet to the house and 18.4 feet to the front porch. Permission to construct a 2-story and second floor additions, covered front porch premises, R3 zone. I think Mr. Bailey is presenting this.
Muted. Can you guys hear me? I'm having a problem with my computer to my phone. Should I go on just the phone line or?
They try to call.
Just call in.
Don't hear this loud feedback.
Yes.
Is it better now?
Much.
Okay. Sorry about that. Something's wrong with my computer, so I'm just switching to the phone line. Is that acceptable?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm Rob Daly.
Mr. Daly, are you? You're talking. We can't hear you. So.
Hold on one sec. What's going on?
Oh, you did here. Can you hear me now?
You get a big echo. I think the problem is that you use two different mediums and it's getting a feedback. Try to use just the phone then.
Is it better now?
Yes.
I apologize. So sorry. Did you hear anything that I said, or?
We heard your name.
Okay, all right. I apologize too. I have 3 children. I'm here by myself, and if you hear in the background anything, I apologize. But my name's Rob Daly. I'm from Midland Contracting Group. I am representing Elizabeth and Andy Allen. We designed the project at 11 Davis. Currently, the house is non-conforming and the lot is non-conforming. We are not looking to expand the footprint per se. We're looking to take down the garage to the foundation, leaving the existing footprint, rebuild with a second-story master above, and a breezeway connection between the two, connecting the new garage, master, and kitchen area. We're trying to design, we've talked to all the neighbors. No one that we know of is objective. They've actually all pretty excited for the project. We're trying to keep the house in style with the neighborhood. I think we've done that. Our owners need the space as well because they have the possibility of her mother moving in. They only have 3 bedrooms. They're looking to create another bedroom. And that's pretty much where we're at now. She would like to have an arbor off the back with a patio underneath just for some extra seating outside, which would be off the rear of the garage. Once again, the garage is not moving. We're merely rebuilding off the existing foundation.
Okay. Is that, are you done? I don't want to make sure. I don't want to.
I don't really. That's pretty much what I got for you.
No problem. I just wanted to, because of the connection, I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Like I said, I was trying to keep you on the phone so you didn't hear my kids, but they're not behaving currently.
Let me see if we have any questions from the board. Mr. Daly, any questions? All right, there's no questions. And now I'm going to open it up to see if there's anyone that has comment, either for or against number 14, 11 Daves Lane. Any comments on the call-in? Okay, hearing no comments, we're going to close the hearing, the public hearing on 11 Daves Lane. We'll take that up shortly when we get through the rest of the matters. Thank you, Mr. Daly. And you can hang on, just mute those things so we don't have any more feedback, and you can hang on for our public hearing if you choose to. Thank you.
Thanks so much. I apologize for the...
Not a problem. Next item that we have is number 15, 158 Robin Lane, map 125, parcel 200. Petition of New Beginning Properties for a variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.2.4, to reduce the street line setback from 30 feet, currently 28.9 feet, proposing 28.9 feet. Permission to construct a second floor over first floor footprint, premises A zone. And I see you. And let me know who's presenting. Give your name.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and the board. Happy New Year, everyone. I'm Iwona Rakowicz. I'm Renata Wierzgat. And we're the owners of 158 Robin Lane. We are seeking to grant the permission to add a second story to the existing one-story house. We're planning to add 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms upstairs. That addition will be made on the existing foundation. The required street line setback is 30 feet, and we're just shy of that by 1.3 feet. So we are hoping that you will approve our case. Thank you.
Very concise. And we do have the petitions that you had sent in that you collected. Anyone have any questions? Okay, having no questions, I'm going to open this up now to call in. Is there anyone that has a comment on number 15, 158 Robin Lane? Any comment either for or against that particular application? All right, hearing nothing, we're going to be closing the public hearing now. 158 Robin Lane. We'll be taking this up later. Thank you for being so patient. It's hard to be number 15 on a list, but there's people after you, so don't feel too bad. Go on to the next one. Is number 16, 53 Old Dam Road, map 234, parcel 191, petition of Michael Schramm for variance of zoning regulations, section 11.10 to increase the lot coverage from 20%, currently 22.6%, proposing 23%. Permission to construct a new deck, dock, and patio premises, BD zone. Is Mr. Schramm?
I'm here on Mr. Schramm's behalf, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Fitzpatrick.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, for the record, my name is Bill Fitzpatrick. I'm an attorney in Fairfield. I'm here this afternoon representing Michael and Melissa Schramm, owners and residents of property at 53 Old Dam Road. The Schramm's property at 53 Old Dam is located in the Beach District, contains 15,625 square feet. Property is directly on Pine Creek. It was purchased by my clients early last year. Upon purchasing, my clients looked to make some improvements. I should note that the application submitted to the board was prepared by Mr. Schramm without the benefit of counsel. My clients are in the process of replacing the existing dock, or the former dock, which was old and unsafe. The original dock had not been recognized as coverage in the past, so the replacement dock, which has been approved by the state of Connecticut and was planned with the help of Joe Biankowski of the town zoning department, has an additional 45 square feet of coverage. Similarly, the air conditioning platform on the west side of the house had not been recognized as coverage and is now included in coverage. My clients also constructed a slate patio, slate walkway, and a slate landing area from the stairs. If these had been constructed in the appropriate manner, they would not constitute coverage. The appropriate manner is with a distance of 5 inches between pieces of slate. The builder here misunderstood the appropriate distance required between the pieces of slate and constructed the small patio and walkway while my clients were away, utilizing a 1-inch separation instead of the 5-inch separation. This separation distance is not in the zoning regulations, but is an interpretation which has been utilized by Joseph Biankowski of the town zoning department, who has regulated beach district improvements. As a result, the applicants are requesting a variance of section 11.10 of the zoning regulations to permit an increase in coverage from the permitted coverage of 20%, presently 22.6%, to 23%. The test for the granting of variance is set forth in the Smith case, a 1978 case, which states, quote, regarding hardship under general statute section 8-6, parents 3 and parents, the local zoning board may grant a variance with 2 basic conditions are met. 1, the variance is shown not to affect substantially the comprehensive zoning plan, and 2, adherence to the strict letter of the zoning regulation is shown to cause unusual hardship unnecessary to the carrying out of the general purpose of the zoning plan, end quote. First part of the test, no substantial effect on the comprehensive zoning plan is satisfied here where the proposed use, a replacement dock approved by the state of Connecticut, an existing AC platform, existing patios and walkway are certainly permitted uses in the beach district. The second part of the test, adherence to the strict letter of the zoning regulations, is shown to cause unusual hardship unnecessary to the carrying out of the purpose of the zoning plan is satisfied here. I submit by several factors. First, there is an admitted construction error here. It's clearly an unintentional construction error in that the pieces of slate could just as easily been placed 5 inches apart and not count as coverage, as opposed to the 1 inch apart that they were placed. There's nothing to be gained by my client by virtue of this construction error. Secondly, I think it's important to note that the purpose of the location of the patio or walkway stones 5 inches apart is to preserve the permeability of that area and to avoid flooding adjoining properties. At the beach, houses are quite clearly very close to one another. And many are non-conforming as to lot size, et cetera, particularly those fronting on the Sound, so that the importance of not having additional impervious area can be important. I don't think that's the case here. This is a building lot over 15,000 square feet. This is not an area where the houses are quite on top of each other like they are fronting the Sound, and where the difference in the distance between slate pieces being 1 inch or 5 inches apart is demonstrably not going to have a significant impact on flooding any neighbor. Those of you who have looked at the property, I think, will recognize this. Lastly, I think it's important for the board to note that the import or the purpose of the coverage regulation is to avoid an overbuilding of a piece of property in a manner which is a negative for both the immediate neighbors and the neighborhood at large. The objective is to avoid such an overbuilding. Here, there is no overbuilding of the property. The areas which comprise the overage in coverage, which is less than 500 square feet in total, are not living areas. They're not structures. There's a small piece of coverage on the boat dock. There's a small piece of coverage on the air conditioning platform, and the rest is the patio and walkway to the patio. The patio and sidewalk are by definition on grade. They certainly pose no visual or structural intrusion. There's no increase in living area that would bother a neighbor or the neighborhood in general. As such, I think the purpose and intent of the coverage portion of the regulations is being served. Connecticut case law, specifically the Mayor Whitman case, the 2019 decision of the Connecticut Supreme Court, states in discussing a legal hardship that an unusual hardship may also be established when the strict enforcement of a zoning regulation to a particular property would contribute so little to the goals that the regulation was intended to achieve that it would be arbitrary, end quote. I don't think that there's any violation or of the intention of the coverage regulation under the facts at hand. Perhaps the best evidence of the lack of impact of these changes is the fact that my client did submit to the zoning department a petition signed by the immediate neighbors to the east and west, confirming they had no objection to the application for the reasons I've outlined, particularly the fact that my clients unwittingly had construction performed which constitutes coverage without the intent to do so. I'd request that this application legitimizing this construction be approved. Mr. Schramm intended to be on this Zoom conference. I'm not sure whether he is, but in any event, I would be pleased to answer any questions that the board may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Fitzpatrick. Does anyone have any questions for Attorney Fitzpatrick on this application? Okay. Hearing no questions, is there anyone that wishes to speak on behalf of this application, either in favor or against? It's 53 Old Dam Road.
Michael Schramm is on the call. I'm not sure if he can hear us or not.
Who's that?
No, I can hear you. I can hear you, Matt. Bill covered everything. Thanks, Bill.
Good answer.
Okay. No other comments. I'm going to be closing the hearing on 53 Old Dam Road. That matter is closed. Thank you, Attorney Fitzpatrick. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And we'll go on to the next one. It's an A and a B. Attorney Rizzio, you're presenting this, correct?
Yes, I am, sir.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Sorry,
yeah.
I'm back on.
I'm going to make the call, but I'm going to make the call. I assume your presentation is going to be substantially overlapped. Obviously, we're going to take them up A and B in voting, but I think it makes sense on this one to call them together, and that way your presentation will be addressing dealing with one piece now, going into two pieces. So I'm going to call them together unless you have an objection to that.
No, Chairman, and I'll specifically state for the record that all the information, the presentation of item number 17A be incorporated into adopted as the presentation for item 17B. I know I
Okay.
repeat myself a lot. You don't need it as much this time.
We don't need it 4 times. It'll be good enough. Fair enough. All right. So 17A, 46 Pope Street, map 42, parcel 411. Petition of 46 Pope Street LLC for a variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.1.1, to reduce the lot size and square from 6,000 square feet and 60 feet, proposing 5,000 square feet and 50 feet, and section 2.7 to reduce the lot frontage from 60 feet, proposing 50 feet. Permission to establish a building lot for a single-family dwelling premises zone. And 17B is 46 Pope Street, map 42, parcel 411. Petition of 46 Pope Street LLC for a variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.1.1, to reduce the minimum lot size and square from 6,000 square feet and 60 feet, proposing 5,000 square feet and 50 feet, and section 2.7 to reduce the lot frontage from 60 feet, proposing 50 feet. Permission to establish a building lot for a single-family dwelling premises B zone. And I just, Attorney Rizzio, just so you know, there was a gentleman, I think this was before you were on, that was, I think, is waiting on the call-in that wants to speak to this application, just so you're aware, and I know that there were some information. So you might want to reserve your comments on that in a rebuttal format, because there will be people, I'm assuming, that are going to be speaking to this application. Okay? Thank you.
I'll address it later, but when I finish my presentation, but there was some confusion amongst the neighbors as to what we're really asking for. My client spent the afternoon running around talking to all the neighbors, and I think it'll prove out that I think everybody would much rather see 2 single-family homes here than one large duplex. My name is Raymond Rizzio. I have an office at 10 Sasko Hill Road in Fairfield, Connecticut. I'm happy to be here before representing 46 Pope Street LLC with regard to the property at 46 Pope Street. This is in connection with items both 17A and 17B, and I'll formally request that the presentation that I make tonight, that the full record be adopted also as the record for not only 17A but 17B. So it's a pretty straightforward application. The property is, and Chris Russo's helping me out. He's going to share some information if he could put that up on the screen. So this property and about the 10 surrounding streets came all out of this Lenox Park, which is off of runs between Old Stratfield Road and Black Rock Avenue, which they call Black Rock Avenue, but it's Black Rock Turnpike. And it's about 10 streets. All the houses were built off of this subdivision map. We purchased lots 72, 73, which you'll see down in the far left, in the small left-hand corner. The copy of the deed, as you can see, they're all basically 50 by 100-foot lots. There's a copy of the deed which shows that we purchased these 72 and 73. They always ran together because an original buyer had built a house across both lots. Our client has purchased it, and with the understanding that it's in a B zone, so he could build a duplex. His intent is to tear down the house, and he could build a compliant duplex. However, as he was looking at the way this property would fit better, its ability to, I think, promote home ownership, we're before you tonight to split these 250 by basically establish the old subdivision line on these 250 by 100-foot lots. So we would take lots 72 and 73 off the original map. This is our current thing. Place our new lot line, tear down the house, place our new lot line directly on top of the original subdivision map, and build a compliant, setback-wise, density-wise, floor area ratio-wise, 2 single-family homes versus 1 large duplex. The property is, the 2 variances we need are to go from a 60-foot frontage down to 50-foot frontage, and from 5,000 to 6,000 square feet 6,000 to 5,000 square feet on both lots. So that we are looking to build something that is what I would consider zoning compliant. The whole subdivision, the whole area is built on 50 by 100-foot lots. So what we would like to do is reestablish the old line, and rather than build one large duplex, build two 22 to 2,400 square foot single-family homes with no variances required as relates to setback, floor area, which I think is very important, because a lot of these older lots, people try to build a McMansion in there, or they try to stuff something in that doesn't fit. We can build very neighborhood compliant single-family homes in both these lots. Now, we did it. We've talked to the neighbors. We've also did this, Chris, if you can put up the survey, we kind of did an overview of the properties. I apologize. As you can see, Pope Street is primarily, but for two houses that are on the corners, all single-family homes. This lot is what we are planning on building is exactly the same thing as exists across the street, as exists on either side of us. Old Stratfield Road, you have the Masonic temples there now. You have some other mixed-use commercial properties. But the street itself, as you can see, as you go up and down Pope Street, but for a couple of the corners, are all single-family. Same thing if you go behind us on Vesper, I'm sorry. They are all single-family homes that back up to us. Our client has since gone around to all the neighbors, spoke to the neighbors on each side of us. We'll be submitting a new, believe it or not, what happened, and I'll explain this quickly. One of the neighbors didn't understand the application, thought we were coming in for a duplex, went and ran around and got a bunch of neighbors to sign that they don't want a two-family home. I called my client. My client then told him that when we received this petition that was against the project, he said, I don't understand this. I said, well, I don't think the neighbors understand the problem. He went and talked to all the neighbors. And just this afternoon, he took our petition. As you can see, almost everyone on Pope Street signed the petition. The neighbors on both sides of him and to the rear of him signed the petition, which is on the rears Vesper, and basically made the people understand. They thought that the question was either leave the house as it is or build a duplex, and they didn't want a duplex. He's since rectified that by explaining to them he's either going to build two single-family homes or a duplex. And as you'll find out, I don't think anybody would say they'd rather see a duplex there than two single-family homes. Our hardship is basically that this is, as you know, it's in finding hardship, you have to look at two things. Is it consistent with the master plan and comprehensive plan? It surely is. It's family homes are permitted here. The whole street, single family homes. And does this affect the property? Does this affect the neighborhood in general, or strict enforcement of these regulations? Does this apply to every lot in the subdivision, in the area? And it really doesn't, because we are unique in that we're one of the few lots that both lots were combined. As you can see, 90% of the area was all built in accordance with the original subdivision. And that's what we would like to do. Our client, Bella Homes, has built a tremendous amount of homes in town. He builds a first-class home. We believe this will be a benefit to the neighborhood. It won't hurt property values. We think it will increase property values. It will be consistent with the neighborhood. And I think it's certainly a much better given. Look, two-family homes certainly, and in a B zone, have their place. However, this would be a two-family zone, two-family in a predominantly one-family zone. There's also an interest under the master plan to promote home ownership. We believe that having basically a two-family home by its nature is a rental property, and we believe that it would be better served to have two single-family homes and this property developed in accordance with its original subdivision. And that's really our presentation. The question would be is, Chris, can you put up the map? So we showed a layout of putting a compliant duplex there. So Chris, if you can put up would be a completely compliant duplex. which we think would be totally out of character for the neighborhood, both in size, it'd be more than double the size of 90% of the homes, and is 100% compliant with regard to floor area. This he can go in tomorrow and get a building permit for, and which would be it'd be a 5,000 square foot duplex, 2,500 square feet on each side. So that's where we are. We believe that, unfortunately, we believe that this property should be developed, and I think it would be a hardship on us and a hardship on the entire neighborhood to, in this instance, if the regulations were strictly enforced and we weren't allowed to develop this property in the way it was originally designed and the way all of our neighboring property owners have developed theirs. I'd be happy to answer any questions, but it's basically a choice. Would you rather see 2 single families here, or would you rather see 1 large duplex? There's a tremendous amount of home ownership on that street, and I think they'd like to keep it that way. We would also agree to a condition, and I think this is important if you're going to grant the variance, so that somebody doesn't come back and try and take a house and split it into 2 and say it's permitted, that if these variances are granted on these properties, that they be specifically limited for single family only. We're not looking to play any games, split them, and then come back and split them again. That would truly be turning 2 into 4, and we're not going to try to do that. So, but I think I think each property should have the specific condition that even though it's in a B zone, that it be a single family dwelling. And that's my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions. The public, I would assume, I'll reserve whatever comments I have to address whatever the public has to contribute. If any of the commissioners have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, Attorney Rizzio. Does anyone have any questions for Attorney Rizzio? Yes, Jane, go ahead.
Hi. I heard you say that you will make it a condition of this application that only a single family house will be built on each of the proposed lots. Did I also hear you say that you will not be requesting any other zoning variances in terms of setback? And that's
he can build about a 2,200 to 2,300 square foot house on each lot without an issue.
But did I understand you to say that that's a condition of this application, that you will not ask in the future for any zoning variances?
Well, I'm saying it, so I don't think you're gonna. I don't know that you can make that a condition and tell somebody that they can't come in for a variance.
Well, I thought I heard you say that. That's why I'm asking.
I'm saying we don't need to. Look, if you want to make it a condition, you can. I trust your counsel and everything else. I'm happy for you to make it a condition.
It's not for me to make the condition, it's for you to say.
Well, if the commission were more comfortable, if the commission were more comfortable and like to make that a condition of approval, but I don't necessarily know that you can do that. You can certainly make a condition that there only be a single family house. I don't know that you can make a condition that somebody never comes back and sees you again. Although I think some people wouldn't mind if they said that if I was a condition of that.
Well, I'll defer to the attorneys on that, but I'm
very comfortable if you made it a condition. I just don't know if legally you can.
Okay.
But the 5 members do have a memory, and I assume the condition would be any variance would be very swiftly met.
Let's see what Mr. Coyne has to say on that.
All right. We'll save that for discussion.
I'm comfortable with that condition if the commission wanted to do it. I don't necessarily know that legally you can, but we are very comfortable that we can build everything within the lot lines and not come back before you again.
Okay, so let's see if there's any other questions. Any other questions? I just want to be clear, Attorney Rizzio, I have some questions because I think that someone is going to speak to this. We received the letter, and you characterized it as that they thought it was going to be a duplex. But when I read it, the second paragraph of that letter says it appears from the letter that they're going to take the existing homes to be demolished and 2 single family homes will take over the property. So They didn't really call it a duplex in the letter. They called it two single
That's
family
what was
homes.
explained to most. That was what was explained to most of the people. And Chairman, if anybody gets on and voices any kind of any other differential thing, I'd be happy to continue this, revisit all the neighbors, and come back to you at the beginning of next month for the sole purpose of making sure this any kind of confusion is alleviated. I'm very comfortable with our position.
I saw what you submitted and you put up, and I think you emailed it, because I see some people that signed that where they objected, but I also see that their addresses appear on the one approving it. So there's clearly some confusion here with some of the neighbors, and I want to straighten that out, because one of the things that I saw is like the property, and you pointed it out. There's a lot of properties along this street that are still those 50 by 100, but the ones that are, there's one that right behind on Vesper, that's a double lot with a single family home on it, and then the one that's right next to that, it's a double lot, but it's a two family home, but it appears to look like a single family. It doesn't look like a duplex. So I understand your argument, but the two lots right behind this one are those double lots, if you will, from way back when, with a single structure, but one converted it to a two family. So I want to make sure that we have everyone on the same page. So I'm now going to open it up, and it appears some of the people have been corrected from what you submitted, but let's make sure that.
And some people said, "Oh, how can I sign two petitions?" And they just kind of said, "We don't have a problem. Good luck." And I'm happy to, like I said, I'm very comfortable with what my client has told me. He spent the whole day basically educating the neighborhood. So if it takes us to wait till next month for the commission to be comfortable, I'm happy to do that.
Let's see what the response is, and maybe it'll be cleared up with opening it up. But I just wanted to let you know before I close it. If you're requesting a continuance, I want to do that. Okay.
Okay.
If that makes sense. But let's see what, I'm going to open it up now to call in to see, does anyone have any comment? Now, this is on, 46 Pope Street. Whether your comment is for 17A or 17B, it's going to relate to both applications. So anyone have a comment on 46 Pope Street, either for or against on the call in, please let us know. And if there's more than one, we're going to take you one at a time, obviously. So let us know your name.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. My name is Steve O'Connell.
Steve O'Connell. And Mr. O'Connell,
can you hear me?
The one that spoke up earlier, thank you. Is there anyone else that has a comment on 46 Pope Street? Give me your name.
Yes, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, what's your name?
I'm heard. Hi, my name is Kim Murley, M-E-R-L-Y.
Murley? Okay.
Yes.
Is there anyone else? Okay. Mr. O'Connell, let's hear what you have to say and give us your address as well.
My name is Steve O'Connell, 36 Pope Street, and I've been a resident here with my wife for over 30 years. And I submitted a letter which gave you some background, and I sent something in this morning too. I have to agree with the attorney and with the developer. The conformity of the lots on Pope Street are primarily, most of them are single-family dwellings. Overwhelming majority of them are. And also, I think that there's a lot of confusion here, and I can speak to it because I have represented the neighborhood over the years many times in different capacities. But to be brief here, I work most of the day, and we're going through some things, so I really couldn't organize as much as I wanted to. So I contacted the attorney, I contacted the developer, I met with him, and we talked it over. I'm directly impacted by whatever goes in next door to our house.
Mr. O'Connell, you still there? Mr. O'Connell? once, Mr. O'Connell. Do you have a number for him, or is there a way to let him know that we can't hear him anymore?
No,
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, is this Mr. O'Connell?
I can hear you well, yes.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. O'Connell, you need to not start over, but where we last heard you was that you're next door, so what goes in at 46 directly impacts you, and then it cut off. So what did you say after that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, can you hear me?
Can you hear him?
Ray, Matt, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Mr. O'Connell, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
You've been cutting off, so you need to pick up right after where you said what goes in directly impacts you, okay?
Okay. Yes, so I really didn't have enough time to fill out a petition that that supported the variance, and I did support it because we are directly impacted. But the other petition that went around, the majority of those people who I know and have known for years, they didn't really, when I talked to several of them and the person who put together the letter, they didn't understand the impact of this hearing, that if the variance is denied, a duplex is going in there, which is an overbuild for the area, and it's going to impact not just me, but everybody in the surrounding area. Just take a look at the one going up on Old Stratfield Road right now. So I think that what the builder wants to do, and this proposal is, I think, the best choice and fits in with the character of the neighborhood. And in my letter, I mentioned this was once a family-oriented neighborhood, and it's slowly coming back. But putting a duplex in there is probably not going to bring someone in who's interested in remaining in the neighborhood for that long. I know we lived in a duplex once, and usually it's a step towards something else. So I think it'll bring more families in with children. There's a school right up the street. It'll be a new build, and it'll enhance the neighborhood. And I think all boats will rise if you put a single-family dwelling on each lot.
Okay. All right, Mr. O'Connell, thank you. And I see that you did sign one of the petitions, the petition in favor of it. Is that correct?
I did. And the person who circulated the other petition, I met with her this afternoon, and I know her. And she can't call in, but she said, oh, my gosh, she didn't realize that petition would automatically put a two-family dwelling, a duplex, next door.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. O'Connell. Thank you for waiting to comment as well. I appreciate that. And then there was another person, Ms. Murley. Are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. Give us your address.
Okay. My address is actually right now 294 Ferris Road. I am the daughter of the woman in question who wrote the letter. When it was originally written, which my mother and my brother showed me on Tuesday morning, I also did not have a lot of time. Putting aside the fact of where our heart is in the neighborhood, we're going to move on to the fact that, yes, we know the property was sold. And thank you for whoever said that the original letter did state we understood it was single homes, as well as what was said online and in your letter. Thank you. Someone avoided to notice that. In question regarding all the folks who did seem to double sign, there is a lot of confusion, and I would hope that if these are accurate petitions, that their names, that negates either way, either petition, and they should be either talked to or questioned or whatever on what side they do take. Regarding a duplex, first of all, we were hoping nothing would go there, but that's long gone. Regarding the duplex, I understand everyone's position. We weren't even really thinking of that, and I will tell you what we were thinking of. Some can be on the top of Cardinal and Lennox. There is really a beautiful one. It's been there about 17 years, just in case that is the possibility. My thing that I keep questioning is there is confusion too, because in speaking to a neighbor about 4 o'clock this afternoon, no, about 2:30, she was saying that she also understands these to be very small houses. Our concerns was like everything, that they're going to be going up to the 25 to 30 foot high, 2 big towers, okay? Because that's what we constantly see. That's what's on Cardinal Street. And I'm speaking honestly for my mother. I lived in that neighborhood for 52 years also. So with that being said, I cannot seem to get that answer. The duplexers, they're saying 5,000 feet, but then I heard the attorney say that the houses will be 2,400 feet. When it was explained to a neighbor earlier, a neighbor also understood it as they're going to be like 2 small houses, a garage underneath, living, and then
Correct.
just 2 floors. And I'm like, how can that be with a garage? I didn't see the plans. It's my turn. Whoever's trying to speak, please give me a moment. The part that got really out of hand was, yes, Steve, you were at my mother's house today, as well as the builder. She was very uncomfortable with that. My mother understood exactly everything that has been going on and what was going there. But yet she is not with me today. She does know exactly what's going on, does not have the capacity to do this. I do, so I'm speaking on behalf of our family there. So my big question is, we have 2 houses going there, given we get it. We get everyone one. How high are those houses going to be? I have that question. Can that be answered?
Ms. Mulvey, I can't answer.
Hello?
Oh, just Ms. Mulvey, 1 second. I can't answer how high they're going to be, but the attorney presenting it said that they would not be seeking, they don't need to seek any variances for height. So it would be what the regulations allow, the height.
Do we know what can you tell me what the regulations are?
Mr. Decker, what is the height regulation for that?
The maximum height regulation is 32 feet to the midpoint of the peak and where the gutters are connected.
Okay, well, that answered that question. So there's no plans. So someone did hear, of course, there's a smaller house being built, which I kind of doubted that. So we've got the full height, probably garage, cookie cutter, living space, and bedrooms. So Steve and the woman to the other side, who will be also there, welcome to those big, tall houses. They're yours. I hope I've cleared everything up. You've answered my questions. And we all understood exactly what was going on. And once again, thank you for understanding in that letter we did state single family. So some confusion came elsewhere on someone else's part.
All right, thank you, Ms. Mulvey. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak to the applications for 46, 17A and B, 46 Polk Street? Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Al Camerata. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Camerata. What's your address?
I'm the actual developer on the property that owns the property. And I just want to clarify something. The woman who just spoke commented on the woman who just spoke. Today I went around to the neighbors and I clearly told them exactly what I was looking to do, and I did speak to the woman. She was the last one on my list, and I went to the door and actually went to the sidewalk, and I told her who I was. She invited me in. I had a nice long conversation with her. She told me a lot about the past of the street. She told me everything, and I was with the gentleman who spoke before the lady just spoke, and we both sat there together, and the woman was not uncomfortable. She actually asked if we wanted something to drink and we stayed with her for about a half an hour where we both told her, okay, well, it's time for us to leave. So just to let you know, we were not trying to strong arm her or deceive her in any way. She was very polite. It was nice of her to let us in. We spoke to her for about a half hour and we left. So we did not in any shape, way, or form try to persuade her of anything. I just had let her know that if I didn't get this approved, then I would be seeking a permit for a duplex lot, which I would not have to go for approvals nor need to go for a variance. And she understood, and she says, good luck. She says, good luck. I'll be seeing you every day while you're working here. And she was very pleasant, and I was very pleasant to her.
Okay. All right. I want to find out if there's anyone else that has comments either for or against the applications at 46 Pope Street.
Excuse me?
Matt, is there someone else?
I think that's it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right. Attorney Rizzio, I leave it to your discretion now if you want to just respond right now, or
Sure.
if you want to have a continuation.
I don't think anything's going to change, Chairman. I think you heard from the neighbor who was directly next to us, who made it very clear that he would like to see two single families. Both he and my client canvassed the block to try and explain to the neighbors what actually was going on there. There was a petition before you that is signed by the neighbors on either side and the neighbors to the rear, who are the only people affected, and people across the street, that they support two single-family homes on the site. Independent of that, I do think it's the best use for the property. And I think even though it requires a variance, you're not increasing the density to the site, yet you're providing more green space. You're providing better, by getting this approval, be more green space, promote home ownership, and have a development that is consistent with 90% of the properties on the street. For all those reasons, I respectfully request this commission grant this application. I know it's not a popularity contest of who can get the most signatures. And I'm sorry we had to go through this exercise, but I thought it was important to get it before the commission, and the commission would understand that we did get out, we did do the outreach, and I haven't heard anybody say they'd rather see a duplex there than two families. Unfortunately, the only way to get two single families there is to get these variances. We are willing to live with a condition, two conditions, if you'd like. One condition we would, without a doubt, would be that both properties be limited to a single family home, so you don't have to worry about anybody coming back at a later date for a two family on these properties. Secondly, that the applicant will seek no variances, will not need any setback variances with regard to the construction of this home. Chairman, I leave that up to you to see if that's appropriate. But you never know down the road. The only reason I say what could come about down the road, somebody may need a handicap ramp that crosses a setback. You never know what comes up in the future. I can tell you that to build these two homes, no variances are required. And I state that specifically for the record, and you won't see me back here, I can tell you that, asking for a variance on either of these properties.
All right, thank you, Attorney Rizzio. That concludes the hearing on 17A and 17B, 46 Pope Street. We are going to take a 10-minute break. We'll return at 6:02 to reconvene our working session. Make sure you mute or close your video while All right, Terry's there, Sharon's there, Katie's coming, Jane is there, and Faith is there, but Faith has, we have to get through a few before we get to Faith. All right, we all set? I'll call back to order January 7, 2020, Zoning Board of Appeals. It's our working session for the public hearing. There's several matters. The first one is on our continued docket, number 7, 160 Pine Creek Avenue, and that's been continued to the next hearing.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman?
Yes?
Chairman, since the meeting started, I was notified that the owner of the property is withdrawing his application and going in a different direction. So I'm not sure if we can just indicate that as being withdrawn, and that would be the 160 Pine Creek Avenue application.
Okay, we'll record that as withdrawn. Great. That way we don't have to keep continuing it. Excellent.
Correct.
Number 11, 30 Daybreak Road. That's continued to April 1, 2021. And now we're on to the general docket. Well, the first matter is 290 Tungus Hill Road. Attorney Fitzpatrick presented that for 290 Tungus Hill LLC to construct a new wall sign. This is the Floors and More wall sign. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Jane. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All right, discussion.
I'm glad to know they were paying attention and they will turn the lights off at night.
All right. Yes, it was removed and made a small.
You're cutting out, or you have something going on.
Any other discussion? All right, let's bring it to a vote. I'm looking at my order here that are on my screen. Hopefully no one moves. I'll start with Jane.
Jane says yes.
Okay, Sharon?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
I say yes. The motion passes. 5 votes. Number 2, 72 Rose Hill Road. It's a petition of Ms. Page, and it's to construct a front and rear portico. Mr. Vincenti presented the application. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Terry. Is there a second?
Jane seconds.
Second.
Or Sharon.
Doesn't matter.
All right, any discussion?
It's very modest, very nice.
Agree. Is there any other discussion? Bring it to
good.
Jane.
Jane says yes.
Sharon.
Yes.
Katie.
Yes.
Terry.
Yes.
That's passed and granted. Number 399 Riverside Drive, petition of the Rushes. Attorney Fallon presented this, and we had an opposition from Mr. Caramello. Entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Katie, is there a second?
Jane seconds.
Thank you. Discussion?
I understand that why they had to come back to reapply for a variance, but I understand the neighbor's concern, and in looking at the site plan, even if you couldn't, I mean, this is not something that was any condition we can impose, but just as an observation, they could take this whole project and instead of just moving it sideways, they could tilt it and it would bring that side elevation farther away from the neighbor who expressed his concern. And also, the other thing I have to say about that, the fireplace, the outside fireplace, I don't think, well, they should talk to the building department because I don't think that chimney's high enough by code. So that may influence where the fireplace ultimately ends up.
Sure that the building department will.
Right. I'm just putting, yeah, it's just this, and I noticed that.
And I know Sharon mentioned about the fire pit, and I mean, the
Right.
question is, and I'm familiar with some building and I do construction litigation, so.
Yeah, so you know that chimney doesn't fly.
That's why
it was just a concern because even with neighbors with fireplaces, I can still smell it in the house. So
Right.
I was just worried that they were so close. Could that fireplace be moved, at least as one concession, since the house is probably not going to be tilted, moved over or anything else, that they could give them at least one concession.
They may be forced to redesign it anyway by the building department.
All right.
all depends on the neighboring roofs.
No, it's the house right next to it. It's within 10 feet.
As I said, it depends on the neighboring roofs where you.
Oh, not the neighbor's roof, the neighboring roof. Okay, sorry.
Closest roof, you need a draft.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's less. I agree with the zoning department coming back. I understand Attorney Fallon's comments on this, but it seems to be more reasonable, and it is a reduction. So I think it's fair, and the lot dictates it as well. Oh, Jane?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Terry?
Yes.
It's 5 votes in favor. Number 472 Willow Street. It's a application of Kevin Lignac. Attorney Fitzpatrick presented this for a one-story addition. Entertain a motion to approve.
Motion.
Thank you, Sharon. Is there a second?
Jane seconds.
Thank you, Jane. Discussion?
Again, a nice, modest, reasonable project.
I agree. Bring it to a vote then. Jane?
Jane says yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Terry? Said yes. I say yes. 5 in favor. Number 5, 879 Bronson Road. Petition of the Chars for petition to construct side open porch and close a rear covered porch. Entertain a motion to approve.
So I'll say it. Motion to approve.
Thank you, Sharon. Is there a second?
Jane seconds.
Jane? Discussion?
Seems very straightforward. Simple request. And her mom likes it too.
That's probably more important. And the 43,000 minimum, and they have less than half of lot coverage. Bring it to a vote. Jane?
Jane says yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
I say yes. Number 6, 1009 Reading Road. Attorney Klein presented this for Casertas. It's to construct a one-story addition. This was expanding the kitchen to the front of the house. Entertain a motion to approve.
I move to approve.
Thank you, Jane. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Sharon. Discussion? Minimal and no other place to put it. And
right.
You come out as far as the rest of the portion of the house that's
Right.
already.
The brook is just, yeah, the brook's right there.
All right, to a vote, Jane.
Jane says yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
I say yes. It's 5 in favor. Number 7, 200 Harvester Road. Petition, Mr. Baruch, Attorney Fitzpatrick presented this. It's to legitimize construction error. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Jane. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Terry. Discussion?
It nothing. The building is the same. It's, if I understood it, it's just because of the attic space, right?
Yeah, that
Considering that, yeah.
and the and steps, and then there was that little platform for the.
Yeah. So it's minor stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I know in this area. I walk my dog in this area. I know this, and the house. It looks nice. It doesn't stick out. It doesn't. There are other houses that are smaller, though. The World War II, post-World War II houses there, but they're taking them and they're turning them into this, which is a nice bit of addition to that. So, bring it to a vote, Jane.
Jane says yes.
Karen.
Yes.
Katie. Terry.
Yes.
I said yes. Number 8, 41 Old Elm Road, petition of Candini's. They presented it themselves. It's construct one-story addition to attach that garage and second floor addition over it. The existing footprint. Entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Sharon. A second.
I'll second.
Discussion.
It's very reasonable, I think.
Yeah,
Right.
At first glance, it looks like it's a lot, but it's that garage.
Right. And the setback, the side setback, because the garage is going from an accessory structure to part of the house, so that has to be.
Correct.
That's the variance. Okay.
Yeah, that's what makes it jump out at you at first. But when you
Right.
look at the plans, you're like, what's really changing? It's not.
Right.
It's not a lot.
Right.
To vote, Jane.
Jane says yes.
Sharon.
Yes.
Katie.
Yes.
Terry.
Yes.
I say yes. Number 9. That's granted. Sorry. 28 Robson Place. A petition of Colin Webb and Jonathan Interfield. Mr. Bernard presented the application to remove river landing and stairs, construct new landing and stairs, second floor addition. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Jane. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Terry. Okay, discussion.
Seems very reasonable.
I think it's an improvement to what was there.
Jane.
Jane says yes.
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 I say yes, that has been granted. Number 10, 275 North Cedar Road has been continued. Number 11, 7 Ennis Lane. The supporting presented this for Kazmano. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Terry, is there a second?
I can't hear you.
Is there a second?
Yes.
Sharon did. Sorry.
Kevin, you have a lot of feedback. Again, it's breaking up like you're on the moon.
I'm trying to temporarily
Okay.
muting because if I leave it open all the time, it echoes. So can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we can discuss Ennis. This is the corner lot and the pool.
I think we get one of these every session
And
and grant it. What?
There's literally no place to put this pool.
Right. Yeah. And I didn't hear any negative replies from the neighbor behind, so.
All right, bring it to Jane.
Jane says yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Terry? Says yes for Terry. I say yes. That is granted. Number 12, Faith on mute. Faith is sitting in on this for Jane. This is 11 Encore Road, Fairfield Community Theater. Attorney Fitzpatrick presented. Establish a cafe for. Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Sharon. Discussion?
Looks very attractive. It's an added benefit, I think, for the community.
And this is cafe only, depending on what they do. Faith raised some good questions that might come later, but this is cafe permit, 1,500 foot rule. I think it would fit. It would be nice for that corner. It's a great corner in the area.
Definitely would be an upgrade.
All right, let's bring it to a vote. Faith, you replaced Jane, so you vote first.
Yes.
Okay. Sharon?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
I say yes. That's granted. Number 13, 101 Robert Lane, petition to Captain Tungsten to construct two-story second floor addition. Entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Sharon. Second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jane. Okay, discussion.
This is third time's the charm.
This is the third time. Just to refresh recollection, on the first.
Excuse me.
Hello?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Just recollection on the first, it was, they were looking for, right now they're looking for 23.62 and 44.1. That's lot coverage floor area ratio. The first one was 28.8 and 53 point, I can't remember, 15 or something, but over 53.
Yeah.
Then it dropped down to 26.64 and 48. And now you're dropping down another 3 percentage points and another 4 percentage points to 23.62 and 44.1. So just want to have that out there for our discussion. What are your thoughts?
Seems like they've gotten an acceptable range at this point.
Yeah. I mean, there is an existing hardship where I guess that part of the house exceeds the setback, so.
They were already within the setback, and
Yeah, so that is a hardship to consider.
it's a shallow lot, and
Yeah.
strange.
I think they're leaving the garage where it is instead of adding on a garage, so they're making the best of a difficult situation.
Good
I
thing
think.
brought it back down.
Yeah.
So I live with that. So Jane?
Yeah. Jane says yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
I say yes. Number 14, 11 Daves Lane, petition of the Allens. Mr. Daly presented this. It's second story, second floor additions, covered front porch. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Like Jane, is there a second?
Second.
Gary, thank you. Okay, discussion.
I'm just a little unclear. There are two options, but that has nothing to do with were they asking the variance for, right? They're just looking for the front setback, right?
It's on, yeah, they're currently at 8, proposing 20 to the house and 18.4 to the front porch. So it's
Okay,
just
so we'll just ignore those two patio options.
yeah.
Okay. That's good.
All right, Jane?
Jane says yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
I say yes. Number 15, 158 Robin Lane, New Beginning Properties. The owners there, they presented that application. It's to construct second floor over first floor. It's essentially one of the typical things we've gotten. Going straight, entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Sharon. Second?
Jane seconds.
Thank you, Jane. Is there any discussion?
I like it. I think it's a good solution.
Okay. Came from our resident architect, so let's.
I try and keep those comments to myself, but this one is very nice.
Sometimes it's okay.
Yeah.
All right, Jane, your vote.
Jane says yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Yes.
In your head, yes, yeah.
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Say yes.
Yeah.
Next matter is 1653 Old Dam Road, petition of the Shrams. Attorney Fitzpatrick presented this. It's to construct new deck, dock, and patio. Entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Katie. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Terry. Discussion? Any discussion?
It's
Looks great.
Minor.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very technical.
Yeah, it's fine.
Jane?
Jane says yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
I say yes. Okay, 17A 46 Pope Street. That's for 46 Pope Street LLC. Taking a motion to condition that it's restricted to single-family home, and this is for the first lot, 17A. Entertain that motion with that condition.
So moved.
Thank you, Jane. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Terry. All right, discussion. First, let me have a discussion on the other potential condition of no further variances.
It's a little murky because this application is only for dividing the lot. That's it. So how do you apply that condition?
We can't. I'm not giving a legal opinion, but I don't think you'd be able to do that. I don't think that would stand up, that you can prevent someone from seeking to ever come to this board.
It doesn't seem fair.
In the future.
It doesn't. It seems so restrictive and not fair.
I think if we did it, it could be reversed by any court in a matter of 2 seconds.
It doesn't seem legal. He was just trying to be nice. I mean, just to move this conversation.
It just was confusing to me when he said, "Well, we'll conform to all the regulations." That was just a comment. It was not really a condition.
He was just saying it, but I think he's saying that he's committing that these are one single-family homes that don't need variances to build.
Yeah,
right.
We can cut to the chase on that.
And in the future, if there's a house that comes before us that they're asking for a variance, then we can deal with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's keep it simple.
A super good reason, and I don't think Attorney Rizzo would ever come to us after he said that in a prior hearing.
Right.
Maybe another attorney would try, but we would.
We have long memories.
All right. So now this is, that's why I don't think that condition will work. But asking the question and having them state it 2 or 3 times, Jane, is good. Yeah.
We're recorded.
Yes. So let's discuss this, because we did have, Mr. O'Connell and then Ms. Murley made the comments, because I did see that there was a little bit of confusion between the people. But I mean, I have seen this. I mean, I've seen this many, many times in 12 years that I've been on the board. And, I look to the neighborhood, and I'm really glad that they put the rest of the lots up there. And, looking at the neighborhood, going through the neighborhood, I only pointed out just those 2, that were near it, that was a double lot,
right.
The rest of them are just all single. So, I think it fits better with the neighborhood, even though the person behind them, is a single family home on, straddling the property line. But the rest of the neighborhood, that whole area.
Right. But
if they build a duplex, they have 2 sets of groups of people too. So I think this is a much better, much more upscale option for that community than trying to put a duplex there. You'd have 2 structures attached, a big monolith looking thing.
It is possible to build a 2-family house that is nice looking. I just want to point that out.
He put 5,000 square foot. That's what he said. That's what Rizzo said. It wasn't going to be a nice looking.
Smurley was saying.
But I just always want to promote diversity in housing. So I have to say that.
The builder was very clear. He said if he didn't get this, he'd be building a very big 2-family. So I think if I was the rear neighbor, I'd rather have individual homes, which create better value for my home versus one big, enormous duplex.
Well, one of the things I don't like, is I don't like builders.
It's a threat.
Threatening that. It's not a threat saying, hey, I'm going to do this.
Well, they don't have a choice. With
not gonna build they might sell a 2-family, but they don't want to.
Well, I think he was saying he wasn't. He was just saying he doesn't have a choice. He'd have to regress to what they don't need a variance for. Right?
No, I just think it fits in that neighborhood. It might not in another neighborhood. It might not warrant, but in this one, I think it fits. So, Jane?
Jane says yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
I say yes. 17A passes. 5 votes in favor. 17B, entertain a motion to approve this application for a single-family building lot with the condition that it maintain a single-family home. Entertain a motion to approve with that condition.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Katie. Is there a second?
Jane seconds.
Thank you, Jane. Discussion.
I just want to bring up, there's the potential now to adjust the regulations to allow for accessory apartments, does that mean that this can never have an accessory apartment? If it says it can only be a single family home? That's a whole other thing.
Is that what we're hearing about though today?
No, I just am asking the question, if it's limited to a single family home, that means it can never have an accessory apartment as well?
I guess
As the
they have to
primary structure? What?
come back for a variance. What-
Mr. Decker?
Chairman, can I interject on that? Accessory apartments are not permitted in multifamily districts.
Okay, thank you. That clarifies that.
All right, so any other discussion? All right, Jane?
Jane says yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Yes.
I say yes. That one passes well. That concludes our hearing for here. That's 2001. Jane, a little bit better in person. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Happy New Year, everyone. Bye-bye.
Happy New Year. Stay healthy.
Okay. Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Matt. Matt.
Hey, Katie.
Bye, Katie.
Oh. I don't know where to find this stuff.
Maybe it's meant to be.
Maybe. Hey, Matt.
Yeah. What's up?
Can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Call you.
Hold on. Okay.
I'll text you.
Okay, great.